What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? And at least one very happy hockey fan. Congrats, Colin. Your Florida Panthers pulled it off. Another cup. Ridiculous. Canada continues their losing streak. Hasn't been a cup to Canada since, the 90s? It's been a minute. Definitely not a big fan of Florida in general. There's some spots I like, for sure. I've had many good vacations down there and everything, but I have my differences with Florida right now. But just hockey-wise, if you can't keep a glass of ice water with ice in it at room temperature for at least like 20 minutes on an average day in your state, you probably shouldn't get hockey. Just my take. A fantastic team. Great season. Ridiculous team. They're, in my mind right now, the bad guys of the league. Like, just the way they play. It's an excellent team. I wish that was how the Rangers played the game, and I wish that was how they built their team. But yeah, they're the enemy number one. Going out and getting Marshall. Just ridiculous. Ridiculous. But very good team. Congrats on the cup. Saw some good videos going around of the celebrations. Lone Wolf's here. Cujo's here. Cujo says, happy hump day, MLB. Hope everyone's having a good day. Monty's here. Great day to be alive on planet Earth. Let's go win something. I like it, Monty. Always a good attitude from Monty. Positivity to start the show. We've got a big one to talk about. We are starting later than we did yesterday. I feel like we'll make decent time, though, for us. It's not as deep a pitching slate today. It certainly has this one is much more tall than it is wide, I would say. We do have some usable options down the board, and it very much just follows pricing. You can see it by the color coordination there. They very much associated price with quality on this slate, and it's difficult. It's difficult to get to premium as far as two stacks and still get a really strong pitcher on FanDuel. I imagine it's pretty similar on DraftKings. There are usable prices on guys like, say Bailey Ober, but that game's got a ton of rain and looks like we're going to lose it. Taj Bradley's always a risk. I love Misiorowski in the long term, but this is a real test for him in his second major league start, and he's not exactly checking in completely cheap. So it's a really interesting board. But there's just kind of less to say. Yesterday, we had so many quality pitchers at good prices, and today it's a lot shakier. So I feel like we'll make our decent time through this one, but it is a deep, interesting slate and a lot of challenges as far as pitching goes. I feel like we had a good show yesterday. A lot of those pitchers we talked about, really came through. Not unscathed, I don't think any of them, but a lot of them had at least decent days to solid days. But it didn't matter at all. Kyle Hendricks went out and broke the slate at 0 ownership. Monster game from him, 9 strikeouts, 6 shutout innings against the Yankees. I literally went to his game logs and looked backward in time to find a better game, and it was his best game and his highest strikeout total since 2020. That's why they play the games. That is the probably biggest that's baseball spot of the entire season. And guess what? We're going right back to the New York Yankees today. They're the top of the board in the stacks tool. They're the top of the board in the home run model. They're going up against I think they're second in the home run model. They're going up against Jack Kachanowicz. It's essentially the same matchup. But Kachanowicz doesn't have the track record that Kyle Hendricks had going back, a decade ago. So I initially made Giancarlo Stanton the home run pick of the day, and I had to swap him out because he's actually not in the lineup. I sat there. I want everybody to know I sat there for about 20 minutes deciding on whether I was going to actually type his name in, because I knew the moment I typed him in, I would post it, and then they would post the lineup, and he would be getting a day off. And he is. Still looks like a tremendous spot. I just swapped him out to Cody Bellinger. I was debating between him, Ben Rice, a couple other spots. I'm never going to pick Aaron Judge as the home run pick of the day, but he's obviously on the board. That was not a consideration, but it was sitting right there. But the Yanks still look great. Yeah, Monty says changeup is dynamite. Yeah, I mean, just outlier of outlier performances by Hendo. Nothing you can say. He was 0.4 owned on the FanDuel contest that I was in. I can't imagine he was much more popular than that on DraftKings. Let's get into this one. We'll try and make, like I said, pretty good time. So, top of the board there, the Angels at the Yanks. It's Ryan Yarbrough on the mound for the Yankees, who's not completely uninteresting. He's one of the more somewhat compelling value pitchers. We've seen some good outings from him. He's kind of stretched out to 6 innings in that kind of territory, which is different from roles we've seen him in the past. We've seen him make full starts before, but a lot of the times he's used in a opener follower configuration, as a hybrid, bulk reliever, as a spot starter. He's getting a regular run in the rotation right now. And outside of a few blips, he's been decent and he's cheap. So I think we can go there, especially checking the Angels down below 4 implied runs. But there's obviously a ton of power, a ton of right-handed power to throw at the lefty in that lineup. So it's not entirely safe. On the Yankee side, drawing the highest implied total on the board, in addition to being the highest projected team on the board. Again, going up against Jack Kachanowicz with nearly a 5.7 implied total. The dam's going to burst in a big way at some point. If you haven't been paying attention, the Yanks haven't scored a run in their last 20-something innings. It's been a minute. But pretty good night to consider some Yankees bats. I can't imagine people are dumb enough to go away from it just because they've been in, it's come up red 29 times in a row. It's got to be black, kind of a decision. Or it's going to be another red or whatever. So they're probably going to be as popular as they deserve, but I think you just play good chalk. And if it bites us again, it bites us, but the best looking spot on the board. It's the best looking spot on the board. Diamondbacks and the Blue Jays. Offense upside again in this one. The Yankees game has a yellow from Roth. Does have some rainy day kind of shade outside. It's actually sunnier right now than it's been in recent days. It's a little bit warmer today than it's been in recent days in the New York area. But keep an eye on that. Roth does have it yellow with storms in the area around game time. So we'll see what happens as we approach 6 o'clock, 6:30. There's other weather spots. This is a bad weather slate, by the way. So we'll keep an eye on those as I go through these games. Diamondbacks at the Blue Jays. No concerns there, obviously. That one is Eduardo Rodriguez for the Diamondbacks, who is a mixed bag most of the time. He's been good, not great in his 2 starts since coming back from the IL. A little brief stint on the IL like he always takes. Prior to that, he was giving up a lot of runs, but he had a big strikeout performance, 10 strikeouts against the Phillies at Philadelphia. Has got to count for something, but he did give up 3 earned runs in that game. Again, Erod's always been a mixed bag of quality. I think you can roll the dice, but it's just that low strikeout thing with the Blue Jays. And then it's Eric Lauer on the mound, which is pushing a ton of upside toward the Diamondbacks. They're coming in near one of the top spots on the stacks tool. Mid-4s implied total on both sides. I think you can get some Blue Jays. We hit Addison Russell. The Blue Jays connected in a pretty big way yesterday overall as one of the teams we talked about. I think you go right back there. I think both sides were leaning offense in that one. Bailey Ober on the bump for the Twins at Cincinnati. This is another game with tremendous weather concerns. This is the worst one on the board. Roth has it orange with red in there, and he's saying storm arriving right around first pitch and being there all night, essentially. So probably going to lose this game. If we get it, I prefer the bats a little bit, kind of just in general, going up against Bailey Ober and Nick Lodolo on the mound for the Reds, drawing mid-4 and upper 4s implied totals. In that ballpark, we see how that ballpark plays. This game went off a little bit last night, so I think we just go right back to bats in that one, especially with the weather in mind. But it seems like we're going to lose it. Paul Blackburn on the mound for the Mets, making his second full start, 4th appearance in the show this season. Hasn't really been good. 4 earned runs in just a third of an inning in his last performance. 3 earned runs in 4 innings in Colorado is okay for Colorado, but only 3 strikeouts and a walk against that team. Kind of low-end performance. And then a dominant option on the mound and one of the top pitchers on the board, most expensive guy, Chris Sale, going up against a challenging team in the Mets, but you can see what he's doing to their implied total at 3.68. An interesting option on the mound for the Orioles. Not because of that Vegas total on the other side. 463 implied total for the capable Rays, 446 implied total for the semi-capable Orioles on their side. But we have Trevor Rogers on the mound for his second appearance in the show this year. He's been pitching okay in AAA. 6 1/3 in his spot start at the end of May a few weeks ago. Went 6 1/3 against the Red Sox at Fenway. Struck out 5, 2-hitter, no runs. Pretty solid outing from a guy who's been capable at this level. Up and down performances for sure at the major league level. Still only 27 though. I think it's a gettable enough spot for how cheap he is. He's at least in consideration because he's one of the few ways that you can get to a reasonable upside pitcher with some strikeouts in the opposing lineup and a high-end combination of bats. He's in my FanDuel placeholder right now. I'm not entirely sure I love that. Taj Bradley on the bump for the Rays. 5 unearned runs on 4 hits in 4 innings, 5 strikeouts, 4 walks in his last game against the Mets, 7 earned runs on 6 hits in 4 innings against the Marlins of all teams the game before that. It's been bumpy for Bradley. He does have ceiling. He's got good strikeout stuff. 10 strikeout game prior to that one. Went 7 against the Astros at Houston. Struck out 10, 1 unearned run on 3 hits. So he can spike some upside. But looking like an ugly spot for him, I do think he's on the board as much as Trevor Rogers would be on the board. Taj Bradley would be on the board, but he's higher priced. The Cards went off yesterday. Just feels like that's the team this year that I'm going to just be wrong about. When I don't like them, they'll go off. When I do say maybe they're in consideration, they'll get shut out. And that's just the way it's going to be. Going up against Sean Burke here, they kind of land in the middle of the board, fantasy projection-wise. 4.85 implied total is one of the upside spots as far as the Vegas total. But as I talked about a bunch of times, that's not exactly crazy far off. 4.62 for the Rays, 4.46 for the Orioles, 4.53 for the Diamondbacks, and so forth. Certainly 4.78 for the Reds. So I don't think we need to get too excited about the Cards, but it is definitely going up against Sean Burke, a better matchup than they had yesterday. So, yeah. They're on the board. They're playable. Sonny Gray on the mound, I think, is definitely playable going up against that ugly White Sox lineup. 3.74 implied total for them. Misiorowski on the mound for the Brewers. Oh, let me look again back to the weather. I'm going to scroll up and down for this. Chicago, both games, obviously, are threatened. Orange and yellow on Roth's board. Storms in the area, kind of like last night. Winds blowing out for the White Sox game, left to right across the field in Wrigley. Seems like he's leaning late start in both those games. Late start, plays clean, just runs, kind of late. But another spot to watch. The Rays game, same deal. Just the pop-up showers in Florida, and the Mets Atlanta game seems fine. Back down the board we go. Sonny Gray, Sean Burke. All right. So, yeah, Brewers in the Cup. So we got to watch the weather in this one. Misiorowski is really good. Kid is an absolute ace. Has an electric arm. He throws 103. We missed the show his debut against St. Louis. I would have been all over that spot. Went 5, no hit. St. Louis over 5 innings, faced 18 hitters, struck out 5. He did walk 4. He struggles with walks. That is very much a thing right now. So we're looking at a pitcher who, if he can wrangle that walk rate, has, I don't want to invoke like DeGrom's name, but that kind of stuff and very high end ceiling, 30% strikeout stuff. If he doesn't wrangle that walks, his floor is like a Robbie Ray type where it's just, tons of strikeouts, but also tons of walks, maybe some home runs. But the kid is really, really nasty. The tough part is, though, he's going up against a really good Cubbies team. At home in Wrigley, they're drawing a 4.43 implied total. It's a challenging spot to go to him, especially with the walk, especially against that Cubs lineup and how good they are at getting to first base. So really am going back and forth on how valuable Misiorowski is because they priced him pretty correctly for what his true strikeout upside is. Jameson Taillon on the mound, admittedly pitching very effectively, working deep into ball games, has been good this year. It's been the upside version of Taillon again. So I think he's at least in consideration against the Brewers. Again, watch the weather in that one. Royals and the Rangers. Like the upside for the Royals bats. As always, I'm interested in drawing shares against Patrick Corbin, even though, got to admit, with him, he hasn't given up more than 3 earned runs all season long. He's been definitely much more effective this year overall. I'm still not a buyer on his side. I'm taking some Royals bats, but a 4.23 implied total is not exactly slate bending as far as compares to the other numbers. 3.85 on the Rangers side. They're going up against Chris Bubic, who's been tremendous throughout the season. Like the upside for him. The Rangers, though, if you're just looking for mixers at lower ownership, not uninteresting. 3.85 implied total just with some quality bats, but they've been struggling, challenging. Logan Allen for the Guardians going up against the Giants. Much improved Giants lineup with Rafi Devers in it. They're still facing a lefty, but Allen is a pretty mediocre lefty. He's had a couple decent starts this year, though. You got to give him that much. I don't think we're going there, though. Giants drawing a 4.30 implied total. On the other side, the guards against Justin Verlander in his return. We should see about 80 pitches out of him. Guards 3.78 or 3.80 implied total. Mix and match quality maybe through like the obvious bats in the Guardian side, and then we'll debate how much Justin Verlander we want to get to. Hasn't pitched in the show since the 18th. Did not take a rehab stint. Just made a couple simulated starts through 60 some odd in his last simulated. Astros and the A's. Framber Valdez, one of the top pitching options on the board, looking likely to at least drain some of the power upside out of that very hard-hitting A's lineup just because of what he does as Framber Valdez. Luis Severino on the mound, not exactly looking quite as strong. 5.32 implied total puts the Astros near the top of the board. 4.28 for the Athletics. They're not dead in the water with that total overall, but it just takes away, going up against Framber and his ridiculous ability to keep the ball on the ground. Just really limits the home run upside, and that's what they do really well. And then it's going to come down to sequencing around some of the non-major power bats. That's not exactly their bread and butter. Stephen Kolek on the mound for the Pods going up against the Dodgers. Meh, but it is suppressing the Dodgers' power a little bit. He gave up 2 home runs in his last game, and he had a blip for 3 home runs back on May 16th against Seattle. Outside of those 2 performances, he hasn't given up any other home runs. So it's having a little bit of a weird impact. He was good at limiting home runs in relief last year. So weird impact on the Dodgers. They're still drawing a 5.61 implied total against those. So it really doesn't matter. We'll come up with a ton of them. I believe they rank second on the stacks tool, somewhere in that territory. Emmett Sheehan going for the Dodgers against the Padres. 4.01 implied total, showing a little bit of love for Sheehan or a little bit of disrespect for the Padres lineup. It is a very top-heavy Padres team. They're challenging. They didn't really rank out well, even though Sheehan's entirely gettable here. So we will see what happens as far as the Pods lineup and as far as this ugly pitching slate. Those top 4 guys are very clearly on a tier of their own. Chris Sale is easily the best in that group with the highest ceiling in just a neutral matchup for everybody. But Sonny Gray gets the White Sox. Framber gets the A's and should have the ability to at least limit their home run upside. Bubic gets the struggling Rangers, where Chris Sale gets a pretty tremendous Mets lineup. That's the one little hiccup with Sale. You're paying top dollar for him, but is even compared to those guys, he's slightly higher projected than Sonny Gray, but Sonny's right there on his heels. Framber not far behind. Little bit offset to Chris Bubic, but not by much, and you get a slight discount going to Bubic from the other guys. I think at 97 on DraftKings, Sonny Gray against the White Sox has to be in consideration for your biggest share, but he's probably going to be popular at that price and this combination of pitchers too. I think we probably scrap Lodolo. We probably scrap Bailey Ober, which becomes problematic for that middle tier. If you lose that, you lose that. And again, they're not off the board yet, but keep an eye on it. Then we're dealing with, very legitimately, Taj and all his downside. At least you get a very fair price on DK at 74. He's a lot more challenging on FanDuel at 84. I'd rather probably take my shots with cheaper pitching and buy bats if that's where I'm at with pitching on FanDuel. Because I'm kind of, again, I love Mizurowski, but not against this Cubs team in his second start. That's where it could backfire. Not just having faith in that arm, but I think there's a very legitimate downside around those walks. If he was in the 7,900, just give me 400 more so I could mix him into comparative areas to Trevor Rogers, Logan Allen, these cheapo options, Ryan Yarbrough. I think that would have been a little bit more fair for this matchup. And certainly at 85 on DraftKings, I think you have to consider that even more. That's a high price for the kid in this matchup with his lone flaw. Erod is serviceable against Toronto. I think he's on the board at 72 on DraftKings. I would probably, again, dance around him on FanDuel, just given the low strikeout nature of Toronto. But he's capable of beating that team, finding 5-6 strikeouts over 6 decent innings. That might be enough, especially as an SP2 option. Taillon, again, 92.87 is at least in the middle of the board. He's just challenging at those prices against a good enough Brewers team. I continue to not fully buy in on good version Taillon. As stated, Rogers, very interesting, even against a good enough Rays team. 74-79 just gets him on the board. He's one of the only clear paths to putting high-end bats together on FanDuel. Justin Verlander, 79, 7,000. Is that cheap enough for 5 innings of Justin Verlander against Cleveland? I don't know. 7 on DraftKings probably is. 79 on FanDuel, given how the 8,000 options play, probably is. I don't think there's going to be that much daylight when it's all said and done between $7,900 Justin Verlander and any of these guys. It's a little bit offset in the median projection because these guys get a little bit more depth. But in reality, I don't know that it's necessarily going to be that different considering the price cap. So Verlander's loosely on the board, more so on DK at 7. That's a generous price. Logan Allen, again, you need the upside day. It's challenging. 71, 6,000. He's definitely going to be in the conversation because I'd rather have him than Lauer against a very good Diamondbacks lineup. Yarbs is interesting, but he's 500 more expensive. I would put him and Allen on fairly similar tiers. Yarbs facing a very right-handed Angels lineup. Could get a little problematic. 73.65 though, fairly priced. He's on the board on FanDuel for sure as one of your discount options. Severino with a monster total on the other side. Challenging. Kolek against the Dodgers. Challenging. Burke with the Cards pulling nearly a 5-run total. Blackburn, probably a short outing against the Braves. 78 on DraftKings also just kind of feels mispriced. Corbin maybe gets into the mix just because of how the same and that whole tier is. But Kansas City, if nothing else, is low strikeout. We saw Sal come through finally with 2 home runs yesterday, maybe break out a little bit. Don't love it. Sheehan, Kachanowicz, it's really dicey south of Chris Bubich. Your appealing cut line is way the hell up here today. And then you're just rolling the dice with everything else on the board. Welcome to the people who've piled in over the last little bit while I've been just kind of ranting and raving. Michael Knack says I have a no spankies rule. Usually works. I feel like usually is a strong word in that equation, given that they're one of the leading teams in home runs and offense and run scoring and everything. Rough couple of days, no doubt. They're gettable, all those strikeouts. But usually, Carlos Soto, Kenny Woodhouse, Andy, good to see you guys. Michael Knack, Power saying no Josh Lowe or Brandon Lau. Interesting. Do I have that lineup in already? I just didn't process it if I do. I don't think I do. Nope. All right, so leading things off with that big Yankees and Angels game. Yarbrough, as I mentioned, 3.96 ERA, a 4.02 xFIP over what is 7 starts now, 50 total innings, a little bit of work in relief in his hybrid role, but has made all these starts in a row. Like I said before, he is now a member of this rotation, at least for now. Just 4 2/3 in his last outing, struck out 3, walked 3 at Fenway, gave up 4 hits, but only 1 earned run. Outing before that was rough. It was against the Sox at Yankee Stadium. 8 earned runs on 9 hits in 4 innings, struck out 3, walked 2, gave up a home run. I was actually at that game. It was just an inning where some wonky stuff went against him. A couple bad plays that weren't errors, but just bad defense, and just didn't go his way. His ERA for that game was 18. His xFIP was 5.63, which admittedly is not good. Some of those runs were definitely his fault. But I'm saying all 8 of them in reality were not really his fault. Kind of one of those demonstrations of once the ball leaves the pitcher's hand, there's only so much he can do. Before that, he had been on a stretch 2 6-inning starts where he gave up one run each to the Dodgers and these Angels. Struck out 5 Dodgers, struck out 7 of these Angels in that game. Only 2 hits allowed. One of them was a solo home run. He has given up a solo 1 home run in not in the last outing, but in the 5 straight prior to that one. So something to watch there as far as the right-handed power upside against. But he's got upside for 6 innings here. He can find some Ks, certainly against the team that checks in this probable lineup with a 25.5 strikeout rate. He's coming in with 22.3, a very, very good 12.1% swinging, nearly a 30% CSW. Very average stuff, fly ball-oriented pitcher, but he's been missing barrels, inducing weak and medium contact. It's been fantastic in those areas. The home runs, maybe a little bit of bad luck given that. It's just some fly balls getting out against. Prior seasons, sub 3% home runs that year, 3 and change that year in those hybrid roles. This last year was all in relief, 98 2/3. You can see the lower strikeout rates. He has spiked up for strikeouts, for swinging strikes. They've made some tweaks to his arsenal. It seems to be working. So keep it up, Yarb, 65-73. I think he's on the board, but it is not safe against these Angels. You can see some of the home run numbers. Mike Trout, 11.78. 4 guys in the 8s. Joe Adell, Jorge Soler, Taylor Ward, Zach Neto. Right-handed home run hitters all. So don't sleep on Angels bats, as maybe even with the sub 4 implied total against what is a decent pitcher and a pitcher who we very much need to use today. Don't sleep on Angels bats. Take some shares of them on the other side. Hedge some Yarbrough if you're taking some Yarbrough. Neto's hit 10 home runs. He's stolen 12 bases, a 205 ISO, 123 WRC plus up top. Make sure we don't have this yet. Nope, still not in. Shanuel, as we've talked about many times, table setter. 374 on base for the season, carrying a 349 xWOB under the covers, but doesn't really hit the ball hard. 5.5% barrels, 29% hard hits, but he creates runs. 119 WRC plus, and he hits ahead of a ridiculous stretch of power, regardless of which of the catchers is in the lineup. Travis d'Arnaud has very similar power upside. 17.6% barrel rate so far this season. He's hit 3 home runs in 110 plate appearances. The numbers are coming around gradually because he only plays every few days. But he is one of the better backup catcher bats in all of baseball. That's an alliterative sentence for you. 2,600, 2,500 across sites. He's super appealing. Right-handed bat with thump against the lefty. And then you have the everyday stretch of Trout, Ward, and Soler. I think what you want about Soler is at 207, 280, 350. He's a take it or leave it option right now. Just under a 10% barrel rate, 40.4% hard hits. It's obviously been a disappointing season, but I will continue to draw shares with him as cheap as he is at 29, 27 because of all the power that I know is still in there. Duke can still put good wood on the ball. So he's an option. Ward's been more realistic and more consistent this season. 18 home runs, a 256 ISO. Right at league average for run creation, though. A few too many strikeouts, too few walks. Mike Trout's Mike Trout. You just play him. Very reasonable one-off in this situation at 3,200 on FanDuel, at 5,000 on DraftKings. That's got some appeal. Joe Adell down lineup has appeal as a cheap one-off from the right side, 3,400, 2,900. He's got 13 home runs, a 229 ISO, continues to mash. Needs to get on base a little bit more so he can use the wheels. He can steal bases like we saw last year. Makes him even more valuable. Listener info, 25-24. Not much of a bet this season. Fills spots, though, second base for cheap pricing. You have Christian Moore there at 3,023. Hasn't really hit the ball in 15 plate appearances, but got here in an awful hurry. Just let him find his footing. I think you continue to play him so that you catch the breakout day at a cheap price at second base if you're going to the Angels. He's not a reason to go to the Angels. Would add him off the waiver wire, though. Trent Grisham, 4,030, from the top of the Yankees lineup. They're going up against a pitcher who has a 15.8% strikeout rate, a 10.4% walk rate. all these walks in this Yankees lineup, all these barrels, all these hard hits against a guy who does nothing but walk hitters and allow contact. He's pitched to a 5.53 ERA, a 4.80 xFIP this season. He's drawing less than a 9% swinging strike rate. He's allowed 10% barrels, 49.3% hard hits on a 92.5 mile an hour exit velo. He's allowed 4+% home runs despite keeping average launch to 8.2 degrees. That means when he makes mistakes, they get absolutely obliterated for home runs most of the time. That is something the Yankees should be able to capitalize on. If they don't get this one, your money back for this show. 570 implied total for the Yanks leads the slate. It's not me. It's not my fault. Trent Grisham, 4,300. 13 home runs, lefty bat to throw at Kachanowicz in the leadoff spot. He's been effective at getting on base, 345 on base, in addition to the home runs and all the barrels and the hard hits. Just as a table setter in that leadoff role, he's been effective. 218 ISO, 374 xWOB under the covers for just 4,000 on DraftKings. That's a really good combination to just throw into the mix with Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt, Jazz Chisholm. All of them are much more obvious. Trent Grisham will have popularity for sure. For one, he's leading off ahead of those hitters. And for two, he's just been good and popular this year. But he'll probably sneak through at a little bit lower ownership than some of these guys, hopefully. Judge is Judge. You just play him. 26 home runs on the season, a 368 ISO. 368 ISO. Creating runs 130% better than league average. It's pretty good. Cody Bellinger at 46.32. Big time upside, home run pick of the day since Giancarlo Stanton's not in the lineup. Belly's hit 9 this season. The production has waxed and waned a little bit. 247, 318, 429, but a 339 xWOB under the covers, a 108 WRC plus still on the surface as far as the results. 9.1% barrels is well up from last year. 41.1% hard hits, same thing. Strikeouts and walks. Walks are up. Strikeouts are exactly the same. So he's just having a tremendous season. It started out a little bit slow. And tremendous is a strong word. He's just having an effective, good season. For 46, for 32, he's got a lot of upside here. Paul Goldschmidt at 42.32 is having a tremendous season. 304, 363, 445. Little bit of cooling off in the batting average going on. We need to see consistent results, but he's creating tons of runs. 128 WRC plus. He's hitting the ball effectively and hard and regularly, not striking out. An asset in the middle of this lineup. First base, you do have the challenge with him and Ben Rice in the lineup on DraftKings, less so on FanDuel. Cody Bellinger mixes in the outfield and first base on FanDuel, so you can mix and match to your heart's content with those guys. Jazz Chisholm, as I mentioned the other day, did say on air that he was playing at about 75% as far as the aggressiveness of his swing right now, just given the injuries and everything. I think you still go there. 51-35 becomes a little bit challenging with that in mind. 9 home runs, 10 stolen bases. The season has been decent for when we've had him. 172 plate appearances. It's just, he's challenging price-wise if we're thinking of it in those terms, that, like, you know, he's maybe not swinging as hard as he otherwise could. Maybe we're looking at a more base hit-oriented version of Jazz for the moment. But there's definitely legitimate upside if he unleashes against a pitcher who is not going to be throwing big-time effective stuff. Ben Rice, as I said before, I was debating between him and Belly for the alternate home run pick. 8.04 in the model, 15% barrels on the year, 12 home runs on the board. Volpe, 8 homers, 8 steals. Mix and match piece at shortstop. He's fine, 3,900, 3,000. Not exactly appealing, but a 107 WRC plus. A lot of doubles this season. That's been the key for him. Jason Dominguez back down lineup where he belongs right now. 6 home runs, 10 stolen bases. Misguided attempt to put him in the leadoff role yesterday. It was just weird. But kid can hit the ball. 8.1% barrels, 48.5% hard hits against a weak righty. This is where you want to grab Dominguez shares from the bottom of the lineup. He'll definitely be less popular than guys above him. And there are a lot of outfielders to choose from on this team. So he falls by the wayside a little bit. That's when you want to scoop him up. Ozzy Peraza, 9.5% barrels is kind of interesting. Just under a 40% hard hit rate. He's seen nothing for it over 118 plate appearances. 160, 246, 292, a 53 WRC plus. But he's kind of interestingly hitting the ball a little bit in his batted ball events. He's also drawn a 9.3% walk rate. It's going against a heavy strikeout rate. But those markers aren't completely uninteresting for a kid who once upon a time, it was back and forth between him and Anthony Volpe, between who was going to be the higher end prospect. Granted, Volpe hasn't exactly turned into a superstar. But that was a legitimate back and forth for a while. But I always hit at minor league levels. It's taken him some time. And again, the results haven't been there. But this is at least encouraging. X-Wob was up to 313 despite the struggles. So maybe something to watch at cheap pricing. At second base, he's a mixer. If you just want to get real cheap at the bottom, wrap him around. Yankees bats, Yarbrough. Angels bats, no Jack Janowitz. Despite what happened yesterday, no Jack Janowitz. Again, if Janowitz goes out there and smokes the Yankees, man, my right eye is red. I'm going to check my contact lens. I don't feel anything on it. I didn't realize it was that red. But yeah, as I was saying, if Janowitz goes off, shuts the Yankees down, again, your money back for this show. Oh, Michael, totally agree, man. Mizurowski is nasty. The exact purpose of gambling, sure. If you want to gamble on him, sure. Gambling is not what we're doing here. That's not what DFS is. Very much like if you're playing poker correctly, you're not gambling. Different things. That's why they're illegal. Or that's the argument. It's the argument for the tax brackets that they're in, that they're skill games, not gambling. Because we're playing against one another. We've got access to the pricing and so on and so forth. Power says I'm not wearing my Yankees hat if that happens. I'll agree to that. A-game, no, I did not cover the Turbo Slate. Monty says, speaking of gambling, Cal Raleigh is plus 2,600 to win the AL MVP. It's admittedly that's got to be a good price. That's got to be at least, in the grand scheme of if you see a good price, bet on it. Yeah, I think that would be a good bet. But in the reality of things, I don't think it happens. I think he continues the ridiculous season he's having. I'm not saying he won't. I'm not saying he hasn't been absolutely tremendous. I just don't see it landing there. Michael, I picked Belly for the home run pick of the day, so I would just say Bellinger, and he's hitting higher up in the lineup. You get more immediate correlated scoring with the impact players, but Ben Rice is right there, probably will be a little bit less popular. So either way, coin flip decision for me. Price, you can play the price and popularity game all day back and forth with those two, but I'll lean slightly for Belly because I made him the home run pick. Baltimore and mini drop. All right, we'll grab those. So Erod, 72-83, 23.3% strikeouts, but a 6.27 ERA, but a 3.96 xFIP. 7.4% walk rate is manageable, but a 1.59 whip is not. 10.1% swinging strike rate is good, but a 25.7% CSW against it is bad. 7.3% barrels is decent, so is 34.3% hard hits, 88 miles an hour of exit velo, but with that contact, he's somehow allowed a 3.89% home run rate. This is Erod. Everything is good, everything is bad, or some things are good, some things are bad. It's a completely unpredictable collision of factors. When he's good, he can be really good. And he can find strikeouts with the best of them. If you're throwing him up against a mostly right-handed, low strikeout Blue Jays lineup, it just doesn't seem like a good spot at with them at a 4.56 implied total. I think he very much, though, is in the mix at 72 for SP2 shares on DraftKings. If you want to use him at 83 on FanDuel, that's not a misprice. Given how everything's priced on this slate, I think that's perfectly serviceable. It's just a lower faith spot. You can see that he projects fine. He's middle of the board. No issues with it. Probably not going to work out, but no issues with it. I probably will have a smattering of Erod. Larry said the show would have to start at noon to cover the Turbo Slate. Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Michael Knack. Appreciate you, buddy. Nobody breaks it down. I shouldn't just read it. I'll just put it on the... There you go. Appreciate you, pal. Eric Lauer at 57,700. Lauer went 4 1/3 in a full start. He's been bouncing between short full starts and bulk relief appearances. Those were full starts. The bulk relief appearances have been the better ones. 2 1/3, 4 innings, 3 1/3, all in bulk relief, all shutout innings against the Twins, Phillies, and Rangers. A total of 8 strikeouts in the 3 performances. But that's a very solid stretch of, 10-ish innings. Last time out in a full start, 4 1/3, gave up 2 earned on 4 hits. Not a meltdown. That was against the Cards. Struck out 4, walked 1 home run on the board. Not a good day, not a bad day. 3 earned runs on 6 hits in 4 1/3 against the Rays in a full start prior to that stretch of relief. 1 earned run in 3 innings. Hasn't finished 5 innings yet, but has pitched into the 5th inning in his 2 most recent full starts. I gave him 5 here. He doesn't project well at all. I don't think he's really on the board. 23.7% strikeouts. 4 in that start, 4 in the other start. 2 in that start, but 5 in the Detroit game. Detroit is a much higher strikeout team than the Diamondbacks. They check in at a 19.4% strikeout rate for this confirmed version of the lineup. They're also just an excellent lineup. A lot of good righties, a lot of good on-base options. I just don't like it. You could be drawn there a little bit, I guess, by that strikeout number, but it comes on a 9.4% swinging at 27.2% CSW. You can see he's 8 points below average, 7.5 points below average via Stuff Plus. He's given up plenty of premium contact and probably not a matching home run rate yet. It's just like the Diamondbacks. They're one of my top-ranked teams. They've got 4 guys in the home run model that are above the magic number. It's the obvious guys, Del Marte, Corbin Carroll, Eugenio Suarez, and Josh Naylor. Another couple guys in the 7s. Very affordable pricing outside of the top 2 stars. Everybody's easy enough to reach. So much more on the Blue Jays, or on the Diamondback side. Ketel Marte at 57.38, ideal second base option. If you can fill second base, I'm either looking for a value guy or one of the absolute best superstar caliber second basemen in baseball at second base. Rarely compromise on that. So 57.38, 12 home runs on the board, a 4.04 on base this year, creating runs 60% better than average. Corbin Carroll mashing baseballs, 20 home runs, 10 stolen bases already, 319 plate appearances in. It's a monster season if that continues. 314 ISO. 314. Crazy season so far for Corbin Carroll. 147 WRC plus. 10 home runs on the board for Lourdes Gurriel. 256, 301, 434. We've talked about him a little bit already. Low strikeout, medium walk, so a lot of high-quality bat on ball, 8.1% barrels. He's hitting for a little bit more power this year. The average is kind of bouncing around. The on-base is kind of bouncing around. Just a 101 WRC plus. Not the most consistent guy, but 36-27. He's super affordable in the heart of that lineup. Hits from the right side against a weak lefty. I like the upside for Lourdes Gurriel as a mixer if you're going Diamondbacks. Kind of ideal spot for him hitting third, too. I like him there and Geraldo Perdomo back down the lineup. Suarez, Josh Naylor, both priority bats. Suarez is barreling more balls, hitting the ball a little bit harder than Naylor's been. Naylor's having a better season in terms of the slash line at 302, 356, 474. They're separated by a point of run creation. They've been 128, 129 WRC plus on the season. Suarez is out slugging Naylor, 21 home runs, 525 slug versus a 474, 291 ISO versus a 172. They're just doing different things out there. Naylor's stolen 9 bases. They've both been tremendous. Excellent way to fill the corners on both sides. Honestly, neither guy is expensive enough on either side. Randall Grichuk at 28-23. 245, 304, 436, moderately effective over 102. What's interesting to me is the 191 ISO, the 3 home runs in the small sample, the 11.1% barrels and 51.4% hard hits, the similarity of those barrel rate and hard hit numbers to last year's numbers. I think Randall Grichuk is really interesting here. Very much on the board. 23 on FanDuel makes a lot of things work. Perdomo at 44.33, getting on base like crazy. 362 on base, still creating runs, 118 WRC plus. Like I said, I'd rather have him down here than hitting third. At least I get him maybe a little bit sneaky. I'd honestly prefer him in the 9 spot so I can wrap him back around to the top with that on base percentage. That's really where he belongs, but I'll take him 7. 7 works in both directions. Tim Tawa, 6 home runs, 6 steals, and 133 chances, and 11.5% barrel rate. Speaking of cheap, kind of sneaky guys down lineup, 2,500 with second base eligibility. Not that you're skipping Ketel Marte, but it's at least interesting if you just need to one-off a cheap second baseman in what should be a big upside lineup today. That's on the board. Like if you're building with 2 other teams and there's just second base open, but you don't have much to spend, keep Tim Tawa in mind. Not a tremendous option, but he's put up interesting numbers in a small sample. Jose Herrera filling in a catcher, 1 home run on the season in 98 plate appearances. Pretty skippable even at cheap pricing. If you just want a spot filler for 22 at the position on DraftKings, you could do that, but not a really compelling bat. On the Blue Jays, we got our home run out of Mr. Barger yesterday. 8 on the season. Vladdy hit one, I believe. 9 on the season for him. So hopefully he starts coming around a little bit. As I keep harping on, he has just been mashing baseballs. He's hitting them harder than he did the last 2 seasons. So you're going to get your upside. 281, 380, 434 on the season for Vlad. A 154 ISO is wild against a 410 xWOBA and this kind of contact. Should be seeing just way more positive results. Could see a monster surge any moment. Not striking out, drawing a ton of walks. He's 3,000 on FanDuel. He's 4,500 on DraftKings. I implore you, if you go to the Blue Jays, make Vlad Guerrero your first click, your second click, and your third click. He is the most important player in this lineup. He's a tremendous one-off option at first base on those at those prices. Against Erod, again, anything could happen here. But my money's on Vlad if you're just throwing one-on-one every time. Barger at 37.28 continues to be really affordable. He's 10 plus in the home run model again today. He's making tremendous contact, very similar to Vladdy, 14%, 51.2% hard hits. It's standout for him. It's a monster improvement for him, but he's been very, very good over a month and a half. Bo Bichette's hitting the ball hard. 270, 313, 424 is adequate. 9 home runs, 4 steals, a 108 WRC plus. He's very easily priced, 4,100, 2,900. It's easy to just 3-man that for 4,100 apiece. Bichette, Barger, Vladdy. Thank you very much, DraftKings. If you want to stretch it out, grab the catcher and another outfielder, and that outfielder is George Springer for only 43, who is having a very solid season with 10 home runs, a 217 ISO, a 132 WRC plus that is second on this team, and then a hard-hitting catcher for only 3,700. That averages you down to 4,060, so 4,100 apiece for the top 5 against Erod. 4, 5, 6 implied total. That is a really reasonable 5-man stack. As top-heavy as this Blue Jays team was coming into the season, given some of the performances they're getting, especially with Barger helping stretch this lineup out, it's downright interesting because they're not priced up at all. Ernie Clement at 35.27 with multi-position on both sites. Slashing 291, 325, 413. Nothing to get excited about. Had that one big day, but has been effective. 109 WRC plus. For those cheap prices, he's on the board. It's just DraftKings third base shortstop. Still a problem. Second base is where I want him. Or if I could throw him into the outfield, I would, but he's not eligible there on either side. Andres Jimenez at 25.26 has been pretty weak this season. 4 home runs, 9 steals, a 77 WRC plus. This is where you kind of hit the skids. 25-23 with Davis Schneider, Sub Mendoza, 340 on bases, at least interesting. That's coming off a 19.1% walk. He's always been decent at drawing walks, but that's aggressively high. I expect that comes down. We'll see where the performance goes. It's been pretty tough to trust. Tyler Heineman, another catcher in the lineup, 39.28 across sites. Pretty good 66 plate appearances, 410, 431, 590, 180 ISO. Somehow that slipped by me. That is obviously some outlier stuff in a small sample. He has scored a bunch of runs, gotten on base, obviously, at a tremendous clip. A 191 WRC plus is just silly. But for a cheap bat, you could go there in the 9 spot if you had to. Obviously, a 9-hitting catcher is not ideal. Especially when Alejandro Kirk is 200 less expensive. DraftKings. Come on. Wake up. What are we doing? FanDuel's got it that way too. 28-27. What are we doing? How did that happen? Kirk is slashing 310, 350, 417 over 234 chances. 9.2% barrels, 55.9% hard hits, a 364 xWOBA. Just a 106 ISO, I get it, but he's hit 5 home runs. His creator runs 18% better than average. What? He's 200 less expensive than the backup hitting cleanup? That makes no sense in the world. Take advantage. Diamondbacks bats, Blue Jays bats, Erod. I really don't think you need to stretch for Eric Lauer here. If you wanted to throw darts at that 57, so be it, but it's not going to work. Does not look like this is postponed yet. Oh, Ben Rice is starting I didn't even clock that. Ben Rice starting a catcher today. Neither side gave him the eligibility. I can't imagine yet. Oh, FanDuel did, but who cares? Doesn't matter. That'll be real interesting when it lands over here. If he makes a few starts and they actually give him the catcher eligibility on DK, that'll make this lineup imminently more flexible. Aaron Boone giving us a little bit of a gift. That'll be interesting to watch. Twins lineup. I'll grab it. So, again, I'm going to try and make good time and claw back a few minutes going through this game. I will talk about it, but it seems really likely that we're going to get this game rained out. And that didn't work pasting the Twins lineup in. So we'll lose a few precious seconds back to the clock here. There we go. All right, so 7,600, 8,100 for Bailey Ober. 4.40 ERA, but a 4.85 xFIP. A really limited strikeout rate this year, despite a 12.3% swinging, and honestly, a not terrible 28.1% CSW. He's just not putting hitters away. Last year, 26.9% strikeout rate on 14.2, 25.3 on 13.8 swinging the year before. So something has clearly gone a little bit haywire around the actual ability to finish hitters off. He's not really walking anybody. He's giving up some problematic contact, a 4+% home run rate on a ridiculous fly ball angle. So there is definitely targetability here against Bailey Ober if this game plays. It wouldn't completely stun me, though, if he went out, found a few Ks, and pitched 6 fairly clean innings. 76-81 is reasonable on this pitching slate, so he's on the board, but I'd much rather grab some Reds bats in their 4.80 implied total and go against Bailey Ober. And it's kind of the same thing with Lodolo. If the game plays, 21.3% strikeouts against a 4.9% walk rate is effective enough, decent enough rating by Stuff Plus. He's allowed some premium contact and some power himself, though, and the Twins definitely have some premium contact and some power in that lineup. 3.76 ERA, a 3.91 xFIP, 10.3% swinging strike rate. Again, been effective. Decent enough lefty, 8,200, 8,700. He's inoffensively priced. He projects almost exactly the same as Bailey Ober from right up here on the board. So again, if this game goes, these guys are somewhat on the DraftKings board, and they're somewhat crucial to the DraftKings board, given that they're among the better pitchers, just talent-wise, in this mid-range of pricing. And with Ober in the 7s, that's really compelling. But the weather's a major factor here. The ballpark is a big factor here. The fact that there are decent enough offenses on either side that are both drawing 4+ implied totals and well into the 4s, nearly a 5 for the Reds, just screams bats, if anything. Byron Buxton, 58, 37, 12 home runs, 12 steals. Solid season so far. Just knock on wood, needs to stay in the lineup. Everybody else on the Twins is cheap with a good total against a gettable enough lefty. Ty France at 35, 27. Solid season, 266, 330, 367. Just 1% better than average creating runs, but some hard hit balls, low strikeout, low walk, so you get a lot of frequent contact. Carlos Correa, not where we need him to be, but I still believe I think the quality comes back. We're just missing a few barrels, a little bit of hard hits so far. Strikeouts, hopefully normalize a little bit. Walks, same thing. I think we get there eventually. He's cheap, 37, 28, hitting third in this lineup against the lefty. I kind of like the spot for Correa to be a little bit sneaky. Matt Wallner at 38, 28, mashes baseballs, 5 home runs and 120 plate appearances, 240 ISO is a little bit better than that home run pace, but a 14.5% barrel rate. He should catch up in long balls eventually. A lot of strikeouts, but also a lot of walks. Willie Castro's on the board, 283, 358, 472 over now 200 plus plate appearances, 7 home runs, 3 steals. He's no longer the sneaky down lineup multi-position guy. He's just effective and affordable. So you can easily go to Willie Castro. Harrison Bader is a mix and match outfielder, and I'll hear no other arguments on the subject. 122 WRC plus so far this year. He's been good. Can't take it away from him. 10.2% barrels for this player is also kind of interesting. 7 home runs, 7 steals. He can do a little bit of everything, but more often than not, he does mostly nothing. Brooks Lee, 29-26. Mix and match infielder. Trevor Larnach has a lot of power from the left side, 10 home runs and 284 chances, only 4,000 on DraftKings, 2,800 on FanDuel, an easy way to fill an outfield spot, 44.7% hard hits, a little bit of lefty-lefty concern there, but if they chase Lodolo early, you get into the pen. If the rain chases Lodolo, you got a lot of angles into bad pitching coming into this game at some point if there's like a stop and start. So that's another thing to keep in mind about these offenses. Christian Vasquez at the bottom, mix and match quality catcher at the absolute best. TJ Friedl, 47 is still way too expensive for TJ Friedl on DraftKings. 33 on FanDuel is also kind of up there. 8 home runs, 9 steals. He's been good at getting on base, setting the table at 127 WRC plus. This year has been good. We have ample evidence that he's not as good as he's been. I just don't love paying those prices when he's kind of just another outfielder in a lot of ways. Gavin Lux, second base eligible, maybe a little bit more interesting. Similar numbers, gets on base at a similar clip, 110 WRC plus out of him, hits the ball slightly harder, but more strikeouts, similar walk rate. I prefer the cheaper price on Gavin Lux for getting essentially the same guy. Just go to Lux. Ellie, 62, 4,000, 16 home runs, 21 steals. He's a superstar. You play him in any red stack that you make. Spencer Steer, 31, 20. Obviously, leaving him out is the easiest direct path to differentiating a red stack and making it cheap, but you really don't want to do that too often. Spencer Steer at 31-26, multi-position on FanDuel. It's been a bumpy year, 5 homers, 4 steals. We've seen him be a lot better than this. I think you want to be ahead of the curve when he comes back to life, but maybe for him, Bailey Ober, not the best overall target. Will Benson, on the other hand, I like the upside for Benson to hit a home run. 17.4% barrels, 58% hard hits in his batted ball events. Big lefty bat when he's in the lineup, 6.25 in the home run model. He's hit 6. They all came in a rush, but as I said the other day, he could start another one of those rushes anytime. We've seen him do that in this ballpark. Jose Trevino is not the bat that he looks like in 144 chances this year. We've seen too much of him when he's been with the Yankees and so on. 34-26 is not a bad price to just grab a catcher that could be floated by the lineup overall. He's hit 4 home runs. He's got a 205 ISO. Those numbers will normalize by the end of the season, given more plate appearances. Santiago Espinal on base skills, but not really coming through in that department. Just 2 stolen bases. Hasn't really been good over 224 chances. Jake Fraley, a 103 WRC plus, a 340 xWOBA under the covers is really interesting. 5 home runs, 4 steals, and 132 chances. Just medium bat on ball, but probably your quality guy down lineup. And then you have a cheap Matt McLain, who was really good a couple years ago, does have 8 home runs and 11 steals this year. So he's in the mix, at least for counting stats. Everything else about McLain this year has been pretty weak, but I do play him from the bottom of the lineup and wrap him back around up to the top with those guys. I think he's interesting in that department, at least, and he's cheap. Reds bats, Twins bats. Nick Lodolo, Bailey Ober. I didn't think I was going to do it that way until the last second. It's probably the other way around with Ober checking in so much cheaper. But I'll side with Vegas. I'll side with the guy with the slightly higher strikeout rate. We probably lose this game anyway. Let's move on. Ooh, Larry's in a league with 1 game eligibility. That'll work for Ben Rice. Michael Knack just wants to compare Ben Rice to all of the other Yankees. Ben Rice or Trent Grisham. Ben Rice. Ben Rice or Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt. That one's close. So if you're keeping track, that was Bellinger over Rice, Rice over Grisham, Goldschmidt over Rice. Bellinger versus Goldschmidt would be the interesting one. I'll say Belly just grabbed the lefty bat, but Goldschmidt could easily hammer Kachanowicz just as effectively. That one's very, very close. That would come down to price, positioning, and so forth. The Mets, a 368 implied total against Chris Sale. This is an interesting pitcher that we need to talk about. Sale, the dominant ace on this slate, 31.7% Ks, a 2.79 ERA, 13.6% swinging, 3.11 CSW, a 3.04 xFIP against that 2.79 ERA, a little bit higher, but obviously still sparkling. He's fantastic. He's Chris Sale. Let's not overthink it. He's very expensive, but he's well worth it. He leads the slate in fantasy projections. He is only slightly ahead, though, as we looked at, of everybody else on that tier. There are 4 high-end pitchers on this slate and only 4 high-end pitchers, and they all project within 3 points of one another. So there's not, and especially these 3, there's a little offset to Chris Bubic because the model's not entirely there with Chris Bubic yet. It's giving him full credit for his season that he's having, but it kind of remembers other things about Chris Bubic. So Sale, Sonny, and Fromber, very interesting back and forth at their prices. Any direction you choose is fine, but Sale in talent, in history and so forth, is the highest upside guy. He's thrown 80 2/3, given a good depth in his 14 starts. Last time out, 7 innings, has worked at least 6 in each of his last 5 outings. 5 2/3, so we worked into the 6th on May 11th against Pittsburgh. Only finished 5 2/3, gave up 2 earned, struck out 8, walked 2. That was his bumpiest start in recent memory. The 2 prior to that, the reason I brought it up, were 6 2/3 and 7 innings against Cincinnati and Colorado as well. So a long stretch of pitching 6 into the 6th and well beyond. Challenged by the Mets for sure. It's a very, very good Mets lineup. They're relatively low strikeout, but this is Chris Sale. So it's a different animal than the average pitcher that the average strikeout rate comes against. You do get challenged by Lindor, Marte, Soto up at the top. You pick up a little bit of pace with some strikeouts down lineup. I don't think that Luis Angel's 18-2 necessarily holds up against Chris Sale. 19% on Brandon Nimmo. I would expect Chris Sale can victimize him a few times, and then the obvious strikeout targets in the heart there. So, or in the bottom part of the lineup there. So Chris Sale, very much a top option. Paul Blackburn at 78.69. Making, again, his 4th appearance, his 2nd full start. His first full start came on June 2nd, went 5 innings, pitched 4 in bulk relief, 5 innings of 3 hit ball, no runs, 3 strikeouts, and a walk. That was against the Dodgers at LA. That's at least somewhat interesting. On the 8th, he was at Coors Field, gave up 3 earned on 7 hits over 4 innings, 3 strikeouts and a walk, mediocre performance when it's Coors Field, and then a third of an inning in relief against the Rays back on June 13th, gave up 4 earned runs on 4 hits, faced 5 hitters. That did not go well. If you get the guy who pitched against the Dodgers on 16 days ago for 78.69 against a more gettable Braves team, but still a very high upside Braves team. If you've been down that road with Paul Blackburn before, you know he can get there. That's what I'll say. 78, not exactly generous on DraftKings. He probably should be cheaper here. 69 on FanDuel, probably not worth doing because you're probably not getting your 6th inning. You're probably not getting your quality start. So I don't think we actually do gamble on it. But if he landed in a lineup or 2 across a bunch of lineups, I wouldn't call you completely crazy. You can see a 14% strikeout rate so far in his 9 1/3, a 6.75 ERA, so on and so forth. Has not been bad for premium contact so far. Has kept the ball down in 1 start, 9 1/3 innings. Lindor, 56.35 from the top of the Mets, 14 homers, 13 steals, 130 WRC plus. What's there not to like about slotting Francisco Lindor into the shortstop spot, except for the matchup against Chris Sale? That'll be the case for all these Mets at their positions. $3,400 Starling Marte, 4 home runs, 4 steals, getting on base at a 354 clip. I'll take that alone ahead of Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, and so forth. That has its own value. He's creating runs 17% better than average by WRC plus. He's not exactly hitting the ball hard, but he doesn't really strike out. 8% walks. Remains a good player. He's just very, very cheap. He's a little bit better than just another outfielder given his skill set and his lineup spot, if that's where he hits. Oh, we got this. And that's where he's hitting. How about that? I dropped in just the last couple minutes. Soto and Alonso, you sweat the matchup against Chris Sale a little bit less with those 2 hitters, but it's still very much Chris Sale on the mound. Those are obviously your two priority bats. If you're going to Mets, I can't see going around those two guys. 55.36 and 51.38 for current year performance. Perfectly fine as far as those prices go for name brands. A little bit cheap as far as those two players go. You take advantage of probably one of the lower ownership spots that you'll get on those players considering the matchup, but I very much favor Chris Sale to beat them. Brendan Nimmo at 41-31, 13 home runs on the board. Going to have some lefty challenges against one of the best lefties in baseball, though. Luis Torrens at 3,000, 2,300, one home run on the board and 131 chances. Has been muscling up in his batted ball events, 18.4% barrels and 62.1% hard hits, but just a 120 ISO. He's not seeing any results for hitting the ball as hard as he is. 409 xWOBA. Suggests that he should be significantly better than he's been. Tyrone Taylor, Jeff McNeil, and Ronnie Mauricio, let's face facts. Those are mix and match options at the absolute best against this pitcher. McNeil maybe puts bat on ball a couple times. He's a very low strikeout player, and realistically so. But against Chris Sale, even just his weak contact is less than likely to come through. So you're probably not dealing with all that much upside at a 3.68 implied total. The upside lies with the Braves, 4.92 implied total. That's going to be appealing. Thanks, Power. I noticed it. Appreciate you mentioning, though. If I had the chat up, you would have been pointing it out to me. Buckanax says if Arizona had pitchers, they would be OKC. They would be the Thunder. Or they would just be moved to OKC. That basketball game's tomorrow, right? Just dawned on me. Pretty sure it's tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. 43 to go to 1,000. If you're not a sub, just hit the like and subscribe. Hell, forgo the like. Just hit the subscribe today. That's fine. We can sacrifice a like or two on this show if you subscribe instead. I'll take that. But yeah, appreciate you mentioning Larry. 43 to go to get to 1,000. 1,000 subscribers actually does make a difference on YouTube. I hate to harangue anybody about this. I get it. It's clicking a thing on a thing that doesn't matter to you, right? But it also doesn't matter to you. You're never going to care about it again in your entire life. If you have notifications on, you can get notifications about when I schedule shows, but you can also just turn those off. You don't have to worry about it. Costs you nothing. So if you click down there, in exchange, scroll down a little bit further and click the Discord link. Join our Discord, join the community, hang out a little bit, talk shop about some games. We got a really active basketball channel still in Discord that is talking WNBA. Just kind of the guys are doing it on their own. I do not project the WNBA myself, but guys in the chat are projecting it themselves and returning good results and talking lineups every single day. So if you're looking to still continue playing basketball, you've got a direct source right there. We're talking baseball. I'm dropping, changes in lineups and updates and my thoughts into Discord every single day. Discord's entirely free. You don't have to be a subscriber over at rotoscouts.com to join the Discord. But if you do, you can check out rotoscouts.com, access all these baseball projections, access the individual home run model number for every single player, every single starting lineup. I update all the way up to lock. You get projections for every pitcher. You get my stack rankings, my home run picks, my power index. You also get basketball projections, hockey projections, football when it rolls back around, all for under $1 a day. We're here to cater to the people that are not playing 150 lineups a day. All these projections work perfectly fine for everybody playing 150 lineups a day. But we're here for the people who are not looking to break the bank on projections. They just want to hand build a few lineups or have something to run in an optimizer to build 20, to build 50. We're looking to not break your bank. We want to help you build your bankroll, not take it from you. Where the hell were we? Braves lineup? Braves lineup going against Paul Blackburn. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Obvious spot. 64-42 for Ronnie Acuna. The team's pulling nearly a 5 implied total. Wouldn't shock me if this got over 5 by game time. 392, 495, 696 start over 95 plate appearances for Ronnie. He's fully priced like the superstar that he is. You just take him if you're going Braves. Verdugo, 34-25 in the 2 spot, just miscast in that role. 0.061 ISO and 80 WRC plus on the season. He's just not good. We have plenty of evidence now that Verdugo's just not that good. He doesn't really strike out much, medium walk rate, a little bit of ball in play action, 45.7% hard hits. I'll give him that, but he's seen no success for it. He's very cheap as a correlated scorer. That's all he is, but he gets on base at a 316 clip. Austin Riley's cheap at 49.34. He's hit 11 home runs, a little bit under pace. 158 ISO is notable, but a 14.9% barrel, a 51% hard hit. We should get back to where we need to be. Matty Olson, a 221 ISO. He's hit 14 home runs. Ozuna, 11 home runs. Slipped a little bit in quality as far as the slash line goes. Just a 170 ISO out of him, but a 385 xWOB under the covers, a 132 WRC plus. Just remains very cheap at 4,400, 3,300. I get that he's banged up, but he's still in the lineup every day, so you got to be able to go to him. At those prices, I think it's compelling. Drake Baldwin at 4,028. For how hard he hits the ball, he should be more expensive where you have to play catchers. 10.6% barrels, 53% hard hits, 7 home runs on the board, and 147 chances. Fire away with Drake Baldwin shares against Paul Blackburn. Absolutely. 7.21 on the home run model. Not bad at all. Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris, challenging to play this season, 75 and 64 WRC plus. We just expect more from those players. They're similarly bad. Both sub 300 on base, 6 home runs apiece, 6 steals, 10 steals, 223, 232 averages. It's nothing here to talk about outside of maybe that Mikey Harris is putting okay bat on ball. Barrel's down 3.5 points, but 6.5% barrel rate is substandard, but reasonable. 40, just over 40% hard hits. Ozzie's not even giving us that. And Nick Allen's here for defense. Chris Sale, Braves bats, Mets bats, Paul Blackburn. Larry says WNBA was leading most of the sports panel shows today, not the finals. My buddy Joe texted our group text saying, "Oh, I can't see any sports highlights this morning because somebody fouled Caitlin Clark." Made me laugh. I was paying no attention to sports highlights this morning. I missed that story entirely. I have no issue with the WNBA. I think they play an interesting version of basketball, old school, fundamentally sound version of basketball that is, can be good, and it's a fun game to watch. I just am not into it. I just don't have the bandwidth. So I know some of the standout names, obviously. I do not have it on my radar what happens day to day, nor do I particularly care. Monty says Cal Raleigh hit his 41st extra base hit in at-bat one, trailing only Judge, Ohtani, and Corbin Carroll. Sick. He's having such a good year. Larry says that's what's so weird about the finals. No one knows when the games are. So weird. Guarantee if New York was in it, some people would know when the games were. Just a ridiculous series. Ridiculous matchup. Bad job by the NBA ending up with Indy OKC. Obviously, it's been a decent enough series. Indy's holding their own. It's not been bad. But ratings-wise, market-wise, that's not what they wanted. Let's see if we got the O's lineup in. So as I started the show with, I think Trevor Rogers is at least a little interesting here. And it's not just because he made, the one good spot start a couple weeks ago, but that is at least encouraging. So a few weeks ago at Fenway against the Red Sox, obviously, 2-hitter. Faced 22 Red Sox, struck out 5, walked none. We know the Red Sox, go platoon oriented against lefties, but he was super effective that day. In AAA this season, he's carrying a 8 minor league starts, 7 of which came at AAA, 1 3-inning outing at AA to start. He's carrying a 5.51 ERA, but a 3.81 xFIP, 4.17 FIP. He's got a 19.9% strikeout rate against the 6.2% walk rate. But obviously, 5 strikeouts in that game against the Red Sox is effective enough at price. And I like him for a similar number, a 1 in 5 kind of result would not be surprising at all. And he's been better for strikeouts throughout his history in both the minors and in his stints in the majors. So it wouldn't stun me at all if we saw a better strikeout performance. Last year, 124 and a third, just a 17% strikeout rate, though. 10% walk rate, 4.92 ERA, a 4.70 xFIP. Therein lies the downside of Trevor Rogers. We have immediate evidence that he's not great. 8.4% barrels, 44.2% hard hits allowed last year. Medium home run rate on that because it's medium launch angle. Some ability to keep the ball in the yard. Year before, just 18 innings doesn't really count, but a 7.5 degree average launch was better for strikeouts in that tiny sample. 22.2% strikeouts with similarly, respectable enough launch angles, medium barrels, medium hard hits and exit velo, and a medium home run rate. Not tragic there. Walk too many. Strikeout rate was all right. Swinging strike rate was all right. Each of those samples, but dipped last year pretty significantly. In those other stretches in the minor leagues, though, we're talking about a guy who pitched from the mid-20s strikeout-wise to the upper 20s against low to mid-single-digit walk rates. So there is talent here. He's still only 27. I'm not writing him off. 7,900, 7,400. Against a Rays team with a 22.8% strikeout rate. Some very good low strikeout hitters, but a couple aggressive free swingers in this lineup. A couple very good right-handed power bats in this lineup as well. Could be problematic for him. It is in no way safe, but on an ugly slate like this, I think he's interesting, and he's very interesting at 74 over there, considering we probably do have 6 innings in play. 79 on DK has got to be in consideration for SP2. Taj coming in with a 21.5% strikeout, a 10% walk, 4.35 ERA, a 4.05 xFIP. Earlier in the show, I mentioned some of the downside in recent performances, a 7 earned run game, a 5 unearned run game in his last performance, just 4 innings in each of those, but had a 10 strikeout game against Houston prior to that out on the road. 1 unearned run allowed on 3 hits over 7 innings, went 7 against Minnesota the game before that, just 2 earned runs. A third run came in unearned. A lot of unearned runs. Has definitely hit bumps in the road along the way. That's where you get to the 4.35 ERA. Can be very effective, can find upside. Just 10% swinging strikes, 24.8% CSW overall. Outside of the few upside strikeout games that we've seen, it's more consistently lower medium strikeout pace. So I don't love that upside, but this Orioles lineup could push some Ks in his direction. 26.8% strikeout rate for this group right now. That includes Colton Cowser over 59 plate appearances and Gary Sanchez over 43 plate appearances. Gary in the lineup against a righty is a little bit of a curveball. So there are a couple outlier high strikeout rates, but both of those players are high strikeout guys. So there are plenty of Ks here. There's also a 4.46 implied total against Taj Bradley, which is definitely exposing some of the downside. If you go to the O's bats at that quality total, 41-29 is a great way to get started with Jackson Holiday at second base on both sides. I would ignore the shortstop eligibility for the most part on FanDuel and grab a better shortstop, let it fill itself out with a higher quality shortstop and an optimizer. 8 home runs, 7 steals on the board so far this season for Jackson. 105 WRC plus, very effective option, and the leadoff role. Jordan Westberg, 14.6% barrels, 44.9% hard hits, 7 home runs and 128 chances, a 229 ISO. I can sign up for some of that against Taj. 3,900 at third. He's 3,300 at third or second on FanDuel. The second base eligibility is very nice, but he's more than capable of holding down third for that price on DraftKings. Gunnar at 47.32 is really interesting. 8 home runs, 9 steals, a 160 ISO, a little bit off the pace in every one of those categories, but still making very good contact, 51.4% hard hits. He's missed some barrels along the way. He's struck out a little bit more, walked a little bit less. There's been some obvious bumps in the road, but he's going to come surging back. Ramon Laureano, 35.28, very affordable for a guy with 8 home runs and 145 plate appearances, a 13.2% barrel rate. We've always been able to go to Laureano at cheap pricing, and he lands in the middle of the lineup and gives us effective days, 7.52 in the home run model. I think he's a nice cheap bat in the heart of this lineup. Ryan O'Hearn has gotten a little expensive at 47, but he continues to pay off. 306, 385, 493, up to 10 home runs, a 187 ISO. On FanDuel, he's still only 31, first base and outfield eligible. You take advantage of that. And I have no issues with how cheap everybody around him is. I have no issues taking $4,700 Ryan O'Hearn here. I mean, just that top 5, even including Gunnar and O'Hearn, is 41.80 a piece. That's easy to reach. You get an upside play in Laureano for a cheap price. You get an upside play in Westberg, upside out of Jackson Holiday. It's a monster stack. If you want to say, Skip, I mean, the cheapest probably route to do this would be to actually leave O'Hearn's 47 out and take Gary's 24. And that brings you all the way down to 37.20. Obviously, that's 38 a piece because we got to round up, but still, that is cheap. And Gary's no slouch. I know nobody likes Gary Sanchez except me, and that's fine. In 43 plate appearances, he's hit 2 home runs. 162 ISO, all right, take it or leave it. You're not going to get many results to work with in 43 plate appearances. 12% barrels, 64% hard hits in the tiny sample of batted ball events. Jibes completely with his consistently high quality contact that he's made throughout his entire career. He's just relatively low walk, extreme high strikeout. He's got very obvious flaws. We know what they are. But when he's in the lineup, if he makes contact, he can absolutely destroy pitches still. 8.62 in the home run model. You've got 3 hitters at the bottom of this lineup in the 8s in the home run model. I need to highlight that. Gary, Cowser, and Kobe Mayo all hit the ball very realistically hard. All are cheap. They're going to be way lower owned than everybody else. That is not an uninteresting 3-man. Just grab that if you need a 3-man with a very expensive team and 2 expensive pitchers, which might very well be the path to success on DraftKings today. That's $2,900 a piece for 3 guys in the 8s in the home run model. Granted, you don't want just 3 home run hitters necessarily. You would like some correlation in there. But maybe they go back to back to back. Obviously, that's not a real statement. But 50% hard hits with 15% barrels out of Cowser so far, coming off of a very solid power hitting season. Kobe Mayo, 51.7% hard hits over his 48 plate appearances. Yet to homer, but he's only 25-22, third base, first base on FanDuel, first base only on DraftKings. No sample from 46 plate appearances last year that we want to talk about. $25 home runs in 406 minor league plate appearances last year, 22 of which came at AAA, 29 home runs in split season between AA and AAA in 2023. 19 home runs, mostly in high A and AA back in 2022. Kobe Mayo can hit. We'll see what it becomes at the major league level. But for these prices in that little stretch, really interesting. Those guys also work, obviously, as just, choose one in a combination with the upside bats in the lineup. That's not in a bad stretch. Seth Mullins, 42-32, could join that group. He's got 11 home runs and 8 stolen bases. He's been adequate. 116 WRC plus and 214 ISO. Just very hit and miss. But that's kind of what we're looking for sometimes when we're going to the bottom man in the lineup. He's just a little priced up for hitting 9th, 4,200, 3,200. Not ideal that way. That probably keeps the ownership away. Going against Trevor Rogers, definitely something you want to be a part of. If you're rostering some Trevor Rogers, I would probably take a couple Rays stacks on the other side, considering the 4.63 implied total. You get Johnny Diaz in the top spot, 10 home runs, 41 ribbies on the season. Not a bad year, considering the slump that he started the season in. 9.1% barrels, 54.3% hard hits. Still limiting strikeouts, doesn't really walk that much. This season, 6.8% walks, down from 8.1 last year, 10.8 the year before. Just a 166 ISO, but a 359 XWOBA, 113 WRC plus. Tremendous option for just 41.29 at first base, going up against a gettable enough lefty. 2,500, 2,300 for Curtis Mead, who definitely through his minor league career had some very interesting numbers. In 102 plate appearances this year, he hasn't exactly been good, 81 WRC plus, but he has hit 3 home runs, stolen 3 bases. Just needs to find some consistency, find his footing in the show. Junior Caminero, 4,200 on DraftKings. That's cheap. For a guy with 17 home runs on the season, from the right side against a weak lefty, I think there's probably some upside in Junior. It's difficult with his 298 on base, but that's something that should improve, and he's just mashing baseballs. 504 slug, a 250 ISO, a 347 XWOBA, 126 WRC plus. Chris Morel, we've talked about enough that you guys know that I'm going to say he's in that little island of excellent swings. He's the most problematic guy on that island for sure. He's the guy who went Lord of the Flies on day one, is running around naked with a spear trying to kill everybody, but he's still on that island. Ridiculous swing quality, ridiculous swing speed. 5 home runs when he connects. He drives baseballs, 15.4% barrels, 45.1% hard hits. Should have some upside against the lefty. If I'm going to the Rays, Chris Morel's in my lineup. He also has second base eligibility on FanDuel, which is nice, especially on a day with no Brandon Lau in the lineup. Jonathan Aranda, 42-31, has plenty of upside. Even lefty here, I'm not really worried about it. 323, 414, 493, 8 home runs on the board. If we chase Trevor Rogers early, we probably get a weak righty out of the pen to attack. I like him. Jake Mangum, I have my issues. I think he's a quad A player, but he's been good over 141 plate appearances. Can't argue with it. The 297 xWOBA kind of tells the story I've been trying to weave about him, though. Jose Caballero's here for on-base skills, stolen bases, 326 on base, 25 stolen bases, but 1 point below average for run creation. So the quality is iffy. Danny Jansen, a cheap catcher bat who can drive the ball, 6 home runs on the season. He just gets through some, mediocre middle of the board type barrel rates. Doesn't really have consistent hard hit rates. A couple years ago, it was a little bit better for barrels, 10.7%. Been around 6 the last couple of years, 6.5. Taylor Wall's here for a little bit of stolen base upside, but doesn't get on base enough to really find it. Orioles bats. Out on a limb, cheap Trevor Rogers against the Rays. Rays bats, then Taj Bradley, even though it projects the other way. Actually, on DraftKings, it's probably Taj over Trevor Rogers, given the 7,400 price versus the 7,900 price. Neither of these pitchers is all that likely to work out, though. I'm just playing the pricing game with Trevor Rogers here. Cards on the White Sox. So the Cards, as mentioned at the beginning of the show, put up a monster day yesterday on a day where I was saying, again, that I didn't really love them despite a decent total. It was obviously a gettable spot. We didn't say don't play them. It's just they're difficult to get to really come through the model with any kind of clear upside because they're not that good. Still nobody in the lineup with double-digit home runs after 300 some odd plate appearances, 200 mid 200s plate appearances for most of these guys. One guy in the entire 9-man confirmed lineup has a 200 plus ISO. That's Ivan Herrera, over 167 plate appearances, in which he's been excellent. 8 home runs on the board, a 370 xWOB under the covers, a 159 WRC plus. Everybody else has been underperforming, mediocre, bad, outside of maybe Brendan Donovan. 138 WRC plus. Obviously, so I have to correct that. Everybody up here in this group has been creating runs. So they're not underperforming. But for DFS purposes, for counting stats, you're not getting an absolute metric ton of quality out of the top of this lineup. You're just not. So it's just a challenging spot. But again, a 485 implied total. I made sure to get them to at least the middle of the board today, stacks-wise. But right now, there's really no justification for pushing their numbers artificially on the back end, changing things around so that they just look better. So they're going to kind of land like this. Might have to get involved a little bit if you want them to come up more in your optimizer. Got to say that out loud. 4,000, 3,000 for Donovan. Again, he's been effective. 323, 388, 451. Creating runs 38% better than average. Can easily fit into a lineup. He plays 4 positions on FanDuel. Second base is ideal on DraftKings for just 4,000. I get it. I would be interested in Brendan Donovan even without this stretch of success at that price, just going into second base if he's leading off for the Cards, and I was going to the Cards in years past. So it's not about this necessarily. That's arguably the best 287 plate appearances he's ever had. But it's not a total outlier for what his talent is. He's just kind of finally capitalizing on it fully. Mason Wynn at 36.29, mix and match quality at best, 101 WRC plus on the season. I mentioned Ivan Herrera, tremendous option at catcher. He's crushing baseballs. He's got 8 home runs, 315, 389, 534, but we're way up at 4,500, 3,200 on FanDuel. I think this does come down somewhat as time goes on. I think you're paying a little bit of tax there for what he's already done. Wilson Contreras at 39.31. You get a little bit of a discount, but he's been only okay this year. 13.1% barrels and 46.1% hard hits are really interesting. He's only seen 9 home runs, a 163 ISO, and 295 plate appearances off of that contact, getting to play every single day. You question the output so far. 113 WRC plus, a very interesting 376 xWOBA. Alec Burleson's a mix and match quality outfielder. Good slash line, mediocre performance as far as counting stats go. 122 WRC plus though. Nolan Arenado at 38.28 is lost, as I've been saying all season. 93 WRC plus out of him. Newt Barr, the guy I consistently say is their best bat, 97 WRC plus right now, over 315 plate appearances, making some of the best contact on the team, 8.9% barrels, 51.2% hard hits is the best hard hit rate on the team, just lacking for results. At least he's drawing a lot of walks, getting on base at a 330 clip, keeping him alive, but struggling for quality batted ball events as far as the results go. Pedro Paz has some mix and match quality, backup catcher, and Victor Scott is here to steal bases. He's got 19 with a 326 on base, but just a 90 WRC plus. Sean Burke's on the mound, by the way, for the White Sox. 4.71 ERA, a 5.20 xFIP, walking 10+%, 17.4% strikeout rate, giving up nearly 11% barrels, a 3.5% home run rate. That ought to be probably higher given the 18.1 degree average launch. This is over our threshold. This is just under. He's managed to keep exit velo down slightly, but that's probably a little bit artificial. Obviously, way too many guys on base. It should be a good day to go to the Cards. Can't take them off the board, even though they kind of land in the middle of the board. White Sox bats against Sonny Gray. No thanks. 375 implied total. You're just going to a bad team to get different for differentiation's sake. You do have some guys who have been performing okay. Chase Meadroth down to 276, 358, 337. Still gets on base effectively, but he's hit a little bit of a lower end stretch. Doesn't really strike out, but that's gone up a little bit. Walks have gone down slightly. So we're probably seeing a little normalization and a little, first few scuffles for Meadroth, a kid who's going to be an excellent hit tool player and a low strikeout option probably for years to come. Mike Tauchman's good at getting on base. He's been hitting the ball hard. Just 4 home runs. Just does have a 220 ISO though. 142 WRC plus, over 108 plate appearances. That's what Mike Tauchman does. He is actually decent journeyman player, but he's always been quality when he's landed in regular plate appearances. Andrew Benintendi at 27 is a mix and match quality outfielder, the absolute best. Miguel Vargas already coming back down. 10 home runs, sure, but 242, 321, 441, a 199 ISO. Does have a 115 WRC plus that's second on the team to Tauchman. Kyle Teal, nothing so far from the high-end prospect at catcher. I think we give him a couple minutes. 28 plate appearances so far. Has stolen a base. Has gotten on at a 357 clip. 46.2% hard hits despite not barreling the ball yet. He's a very cheap way to fill catcher. That's fine if you're going to this team. It's not overly appealing otherwise. Lou Bob at 35-28 needs to get traded. He needs to leave town as a Cardinal. They should make this deal today. Get Lou Bob to the Cardinals. That would solve so many problems for both him and the Cardinals. I know he's been terrible this season. I really, really firmly believe it's because of the environment. 11.3% barrels, 43.7% hard hits, 6 homers, 21 steals. Dealing with a little bit of a sore thumb issue, but missed Sunday, but was back in the lineup Tuesday. Back in the lineup, obviously, today. Ryan Noda, 24-22, 7 pretty empty plate appearances so far. We have seen quality bat on ball and on base skills out of Ryan Noda over the last couple seasons, though. He's very cheap at first base. If you wanted to mix him into things, if you're going White Sox, I actually prefer the Lou Bob, Noda, Michael Taylor stretch of this lineup to anything else in this lineup. I wish I had Tauchman and Meadroth there. Like, these 3 hitters should be hitting in these 3 spots. This was a really stupid way to build this lineup, but that's one of the reasons they're the White Sox. Those are definitely the 3 most interesting bats on this team. Well, with apologies again to Meadroth and Tauchman on their on-base skills and whatnot. Michael A mixes in 22-24, 3 home runs on the season, still hits the ball very hard, 11.5% barrels, 46.2% hard hits, and 142 chances. No real high-quality results, but that's why he's just kind of a sneaky, low-owned, low-price mixer. Has also stolen 7 bases. Josh Rojas, mix and match quality at the absolute best, and he's not even that. And then Sonny Gray against that terrible team, 26.1% strikeouts coming in against a 4.6% walk rate, 12.2% swinging, 30% CSW. He's high-priced. One of the most highly projected pitchers on the slate, right next to Chris Sale at the top of the board. No reason to ignore Sonny Gray. You go to him aggressively here against the White Sox. And we move on. Sonny Gray, Cardinals bats. Really nothing from the White Sox. If you want to go there, I would probably do that over Sean Burke. And then I can't justify any Sean Burke, even at cheap pricing. Mizurowski, as mentioned, love this kid. Think he's going to be dynamite. Throws 103 miles an hour coming into the show. 5 shutout innings, did tweak his ankle. He came out for the 6th inning. He threw, I think, 1 pitch and took an awkward step walking backward to go back to the mound, and his ankle went like that, and he came out of the game just for cautionary measures. But by all accounts, is perfectly fine. 85-82 checks into the game at a fair price tag on both sides. He can pay that off. He is good enough to pay it off. What my major concern is his walk issues. Throughout the minor leagues, he's had issues with walks. He's one of these high strikeout but double-digit walk types. We'll see if he can wrangle it in the long term. But coming in against today, a Cubbies team that can definitely draw some walks over the last couple seasons, and obviously is tremendous for run creation power and everything else, it's a really, really challenging spot to be making his 2nd career start. If he was 1,000 cheaper, I'd be really interested. It's gambling, as somebody said in the chat before, if you go to it today. He's not off the board. He's very much on the board. But it is a little bit difficult to get to. I think that does probably render him lower owned, which would be good because you need that buffer zone from the price. Morella's on his own island with Tolkien. As crazy as it seems, it wouldn't surprise me. Don asks, question in the tournament I'm in. I have to have 2 pitchers and I can't put infield out like Altuve for Houston in the outfield. How would you play that? Don, can you rephrase for me, bud? I'm having trouble figuring out. I can't put infield can't put infield out like Altuve for Houston in the outfield. Like you can't afford Altuve in the. Are you asking how to get to Houston without using it? I'm not sure what you're actually asking there, bud. Happy to answer. I'm just not entirely sure what you're asking. Edward B. from Berger on North Carolina showed up. Welcome, buddy. Good to see you. Yeah, Tampa Bay Rays going to be sold for $1.7 billion. Pretty big profit from the $200 million in 2004. Hopefully they keep the analytics group and everybody there in the front office, super sharp front office. Hopefully they keep that intact, and hopefully it means more investment in the team. It would be nice. So again, Mizurowski, really, really good. Challenged around the walks. Expensive. Jamison Tyon at 87.92, pitching to a 3.48 ERA, but a higher xFIP. 3.95 is still fine. 20% strikeouts against a 5% walk rate. 4.9 is perfectly functional. A sub-1 whip is tremendous. 10% swinging, 29% CSW. He's been undeniably decent this year. 10.2% barrels is an issue, but only 36.9% hard hits, 87.5 miles an hour of exit velo. So he's been difficult to generate super premium contact against on the exit velo front, but it has still resulted on an extreme fly ball trajectory in nearly a 5% home run rate. That is one of our major issues. The Buss family is agreeing to sell the majority ownership of the Lakers in bigger sale news. Lakers had to come in and trample all over the Rays news, I guess. Buss family is selling to Mark Walter, the CEO of diversified holding company TWG Global. So I'm sure just a wonderful human being in his own right. Shocker. Walter's been a stakeholder in the Lakers since 2021 when he also received a right of first refusal on the majority share of the team. So he had right of first refusal for any deal they were going to do. Interesting. That's a major changing of the guard in the NBA. Anyway, so Tyon, super usable here against the Brewers team that he's got checked down at a 3.66 implied total. 4.43 implied for the Cubbies against Mizurowski. You can kind of, again, see the downside for the rookie there, but this kid is going to be good. Long-term pickup, Dynasty League, absolute priority. If he is still on a waiver wire somehow, grab him. Maybe don't start him today, but grab him. If you're going Brewers against Tyon, who can be gettable from time to time, especially given those home run numbers, you can see some power showing for the Brew Crew. Hoskins at an 11.06 in the home run model to lead the way. He's got 10 on the season. He's carrying a 169 ISO. Mixed results for his 11.3% barrels, mid-40s% hard hit rate. Christian Yelich, mid-40s, upper 40s hard hits. 7.2% barrels is a little bit of a dip from last year. It's a bigger dip from 2 years ago. 14 home runs, 10 steals, 189 ISO. It's been up, it's been down, but still a very good player, a 109 WRC plus, and a 330 xWOBA should be a little encouraging for an uptick in general consistency. William Contreras, a 40% hard hit, 5.3% barrels, 6 homers, 5 steals, mix and match quality, still gets on base at a very good clip, but a 101 WRC plus, a 112 ISO. It's fine, but not overly appealing this year. We're kind of maybe sort of coming back down the mountain. It wouldn't stun me if he turned things around, but he's been only okay so far this year. 4,000, 3,000, at least he's affordable for the scuffling kind of season. Speaking of, 45.35 for Jackson Churio, priced a little bit differently site to site. FanDuel still holding strong with higher pricing. 12 home runs, 13 steals, 101 WRC plus, just a 282 on base, 194 ISO. This is not the Jackson Churio we were promised. He's been fine, but he's not been a superstar. South Phillick, 38-31, 289, 350, 391, coming down a little bit as far as the general ongoing quality, but still a decent enough mix and match option to throw a tie on. He's a left-handed hitter. You have 14 stolen bases, correlated scoring option from the top of the lineup. Isaac Collins, Caleb Durbin, Joey Ortiz down lineup. All those guys are mix and match types at best. You get a little bit of power. You get a little bit of stolen base upside from those guys. The really interesting one to zero in on down lineup, though, is Bryce Turang. If he moves up the lineup against the righty, so be it. You get him in a better spot, but probably more popular within the people that go to the Brewers. 44-29 for a guy with 4 homers, 16 steals, a 354 on base. Just a 102 WRC plus, but a compelling 343 xWOBA with a 6.5% barrel, 45.5% hard hit. Turang for 44-29. Fills second base okay. Maganak, the original home run call was Giancarlo Stanton, but he's not playing, so I pivoted to, what did I say? Belly? Cody Bellinger. A lot of Yankees home runs on the board. I just went for the homer pick. Get my boys going tonight. I really did like the Stanton spot. I just kind of wanted to go to Stanton. Couple hits in his first couple games, putting good wood on the ball. Figure why not? But I knew the moment I published that article, like I said, that he would not be in the Yankees lineup. It came out like 10 minutes later. I usually don't switch him, but when it's that close to when you get the scratch, I'll switch it because not many people have processed it yet. So it's not like I'm cheating. Where were we? Cubbies bats. Ian Happ, 4,200, 3,300. We've had a power gap with Happ. 135 ISO is uncharacteristic, just 7 home runs and 301 chances. He's still creating runs, 107 WRC plus, getting on base like crazy, 339 on base, 343 xWOBA. We're fine just going to Happ as is, and I do think there's underlying upside, given what we've seen from him power-wise over the years. Kyle Tucker at 63-41, just a superstar. You just go there, 13 homers, 18 steals. Speaking of Kyle Tucker, by the way, Jordan Alvarez back to day-to-day status, apparently. Hopefully he gets back soon. 18 home runs on the board, not for this team, obviously, but Kyle Tucker just made me think of that. Seiya Suzuki, 53-35, 18 home runs on the board. Pete Crow Armstrong, 19 home runs on the board to go with 23 stolen bases. Speaking of MVP contenders, Pete has been ridiculous. Oh, did we lose the Cincy game? I just got to notice. Pirates Tigers postponed. That's the earlier slate. So I guess it was about that. So yeah, everybody in the heart of the Cubs lineup is just mashing. You can see all these double-digit home run totals. Decent options for stolen base bonus upside scoring. Dansby Swanson at 43 is cheap at shortstop. 29, same thing on FanDuel. 13 home runs for Dansby this year. Carrying a 182 ISO that could push. A 289 on base needs to go up for sure. 343 xWOBA under the covers and 97 WRC plus. He should improve on the numbers given the hard hits, the barrels, the xWOBA. Michael Busch, an interesting candidate for a lower-owned option to throw at Jacob Misiorowski in his second career start. 4,400, 3,200. A lot of power upside with 11 home runs himself, a 233 ISO, 5.50 in the home run model today on 14.5% barrels, 46.1% hard hits. Carson Kelly, monster barrel rate and hard hits. If he's in the lineup today, 9 home runs and 174 plate appearances. Nico gets on base, correlated scoring option, 14 stolen bases. Not a bad way to round out a Cub stack for a cheap price at second base, but not a high priority player on this team either. Matt Shaw, same kind of thing. 7 stolen bases, 2 home runs, mediocre slash line so far, 82 WRC plus, but not a terrible way to round things off with this team. Third baseman, bottom of the lineup. I'd probably rather have Nico for the more reliable on base skills, the bonus from stolen bases. Not that Shaw doesn't steal bases, but probably would lean Nico slightly in that equation. Cubs, I don't want to do that. I want to give Misiorowski enough credit. I'll go Jameson Taillon, then the Cubs bats. Not that this matters at all. Then the Misiorowski, then the Brewers bats. I'm more challenged by Misiorowski's price than anything else here. Both these lineups are in. Good. 5 o'clock, we're doing fine time-wise. Misiorowski, by the way, in AAA this season, just put a number on it for you. 12 starts, 63 and a third, had a 31.6% strikeout rate, was throwing 103 regularly, but was walking 12.3%. Last year in his minor league stint, it was 97 and a third over 21 starts, 33 appearances, was pitching a little bit in relief, 30.5% strikeouts, but 14.4% walks. What he did not allow was home runs. Sub 1 home run per 9 in every one of his minor league stops, and sub 0.8 home run per 9 in all those stops. Don't have the home run percentage, but it wasn't many. In fact, it was that's this year. Excuse me. Do I have the total? I have to have the total here somewhere. No, it doesn't matter. It wasn't many. A lot of strikeouts, too many walks, not many home runs allowed. So even when he puts guys on base, it is difficult to capitalize against him, which maybe works against the Cubs' upside a little bit. Anyway, continuing on to the game that I just pulled up, Patty Corbin, Chris Bubich, a pair of different quality lefties. As mentioned, though, Pat Corbin has been decent this year. 3.66 ERA, a 4.24 xFIP, just 17.9% strikeout, 7.7% walks, but a 10+% strikeout rate, swinging strike rate, 27% CSW is just okay, but hasn't gotten destroyed for power like we've been grown accustomed to seeing. 3.66 home runs is a little bit high for a home run rate, but it comes on 36.1% hard hits, just 7.9% barrel, 88.5 miles an hour of exit velo. If I didn't know this pitcher better, I'd say he's maybe getting a little bit unlucky, and that's still a manageable number. Last year, it was kind of similar if you really look. 3.27% home run rate, but it came on way more hard hits, way more premium contact. Just has been keeping the ball down a little bit. This year, it's gone up to 13.6. Year before last, 4.18% home run rate, 3.79 the year before that. Just been targetable for premium contact and power a little bit, but maybe better than we've been giving him credit for this year. 75, 77. He's loosely on the board at low projections. What I think goes away, though, is any semblance of strikeout upside. 17.1% strikeout rate opposing, 17.4 last year, 18.8 for the same group of hitters. So very realistically low strikeout team on the other side with quality for run creation, quality for on-base skills, sequencing, a little bit of power in the lineups. So I just don't like the spot. I'm leaning heavily Royals here. 4.23 implied total, but they rank out a little bit better than that on the stacks board. Several guys around the magic number for home run quality, including Bobby Witt at 11.68, Vinny 9.60, Sal, who hit 2 yesterday, maybe coming around a little bit, 9.25 in the home run model. He's got 8 on the season. Vinny's up to 10. Vinny's still only 3,900, 2,900, despite the 6 weeks or so of high-quality baseball. Making great contact, looking a whole lot more like Vinny Pasquantino. Take advantage while he's still low-priced. Michael Garcia, 45.32. Third base only on DraftKings. That's perfectly fine, but getting him at second base is ideal at 32 on FanDuel. 7 home runs, 15 steals, slashing 312, 372, 477, a 340 xWOBA to say there's maybe a little bit more to come. It's a monster season out of him. He's improved in every single facet of his game. He's just good. Jonathan India for a cheap price can still be in lineups, 325 on base and kind of declining. Hasn't been a great season for him, but there are things to like about his game just as a correlated scoring option for cheap. The issue for me is if I want Michael Garcia at second on FanDuel, then I got a blocker positionally, and I don't want him and India in the same lineup necessarily just to utilize second base that way. That's not an issue on DraftKings. You just take India as your bonus player in a 5-man at second base for direct correlation. That's perfectly fine. These guys top 5 it. It's pretty cheap, $41.20 a piece. Very affordable. You've got a playable Mark Canha to work in around the edges. If you want to skip India up there, I would include Canha right there for 24. If you just went like that, that averages down under 4,000 a piece, 39.20 a piece. Nick Lofton, Freddie Fermin, Kyle Isbell. Oddly, Freddie Fermin's probably the best pure hitter down there. Cheap catcher bat, but you'd probably rather have Sal at catcher and Vinny at first base if you're building on DraftKings. Furman, 261, 302, 336 this year, just a 74 WRC plus. We've seen him be a little bit more consistent and productive, find some hard hit along the way. He's low strikeout, low walk, so you get batted balls out of him. He can be okay. But I think Canha's probably, just given the career track record, the most interesting guy in the bottom 4. Isbell's just a mix and match guy. Same with Lofton. For the Rangers, a sub-4 implied total against Bubic, who, priced with the big boys, but he's been pitching like at 1.92 ERA, but a 3.41 xFIP. That is a noteworthy difference between the surface number and the more realistic, what he should be doing kind of number under the covers. 25.9% strikeouts is good. 8.2% walk rate is manageable. Tremendous swinging strike rate and CSW numbers so far. Hasn't gotten burnt for power at all. A sub 1% home run rate is fantastic for a guy who, that's not an extreme low launch angle. Last year, it was more extreme in his relief work, 30 and a third, 3-degree average launch, similarly limited home runs. So he's given up a little bit more launch, a few more barrels so far this season. Hasn't really cost him. Was really good for strikeouts, swinging strikes, CSW, sustained this growth that he showed as a reliever into a transition back to starting. Has been really interesting this year. Again, he's the slightly lower projected among the 4 high-end starters. He's also slightly cheaper than all those guys. Very much in play against the scuffling Rangers team that comes in with a 22.8% strikeout rate, 6.8% walks, so that even shouldn't be a problem, even if he gets, even with the 8.2% walks. I do still believe in this Rangers team eventually turning a corner and providing some more interesting days. Given all the hard hits, all the barrels that remain in this lineup, you got to like the upside on some days, but Bubic has been really good. What I would maybe consider is some stacks around Adolis Garcia, Josh Young, Jake Berger, some of those high-quality righties. Maybe you work Marcus Semien, and obviously Corey Seager plays against anybody. So there's playable name brands in here, but look at where those name brands are at. I mean, for the stretch, I'll include Langford. For the stretch from Langford to Berger, you're dealing with a 234 average, a 299 on base, a 393 slug, a 346. No, that can't be right. It's not adding them, it's averaging them. Never mind. What's 393 plus whatever I said, 299? Whatever that is, that's their OPS. Mediocre ISOs, 159 ISO, an average WRC plus over that stretch of 94. There's your problem. But again, all these hard hits and barrels for every single one of those guys, with the exception of Marcus Semien, who has found his way to respectability. 7 home runs, 6 steals now, 225, 308, 336. Still a ways to go, but up to a 336 xWOBA over 289 chances. He has somewhat normalized in play at 3,500. Everybody is cheap, commensurate with their struggles, which is good. Josh Young is way too good to continue being this lousy. 7 home runs on the board is not terrible in 246 plate appearances. Slash line's mediocre, but it's one of the better marks on this team. The highest batting average on this team at 253. Yikes. 97 WRC plus. Berger's kind of come around a little bit. He's up to 10 home runs. He's barreling the ball consistently, 13.9% barrels, 50.9% hard hits. Seager, 14.2, 51.7 in those departments. Adolis at 13.3, 48.9 in barrels and hard hits. It's resulted in 8 homers, a 161 ISO, but he's been a little bit better since his couple days off. Limited yesterday in output, but you can't, as much as the week-long sample didn't matter when I looked at it yesterday, the one-day sample from yesterday in which he wasn't good also doesn't matter. Higgy, we can see hit a home run from time to time. He's only got 1 in 119 chances this year. The batted ball events have come down in quality. You're just kind of cheap catcher spot hunting there. And then Ezekiel Duran for 21. It's unfortunate that he's only a shortstop on DraftKings. Hadn't done anything with 48 plate appearances this year. Didn't really do anything with 285 last year. Was interesting from the bottom of the lineup in 2023, though. 439 pretty decent plate appearances, 107 WRC plus, 14 homers, 8 steals. Don't sleep on Duran if you're building a bunch of Texas stacks. He doesn't need to be in any lineups if you're only building one Texas stack. Chris Bubich, Royals bats, Rangers bats, then Patrick Corbin. Low faith for Patrick Corbin. 3 games to go. Larry's still not raining up here, but that is on the board weather-wise, the Yanks game. Definitely a concern. Roth's take was that it was going to maybe late start and showers would pass and then we'd be fine, if I'm remembering correctly. As usual, though, default to the actual weatherman. Don saying, I can't put infields in the outfield. They won't let me. It depends on what eligibility the guy has on the site that you're playing. If they have the eligibility, it should let you put them where you want to. Out of these 4 pitchers, can you help me out? Gray, Bubich, Sale, and Fromber. Any one of those 4 guys. Or if you could get to 2 of those guys, both of whichever 2 you can get to. Those guys project very evenly. Pure upside in a vacuum, in a neutral matchup across all 4 of those guys. Sale is the highest end guy. Valdez is a fantastic limiter of runs and home run upside, but is a little bit lower strikeout than Sale, than Gray, and then Bubich has been this year. Bubich Valdez is probably the 2 most comparable. Gray is a little bit higher. So probably if I had to rank it, go Sale, even against the very good Mets, Gray, Valdez, Bubich. But it is all very, very close. You could play it by ownership, take the lowest owned. You could play it by price, take the cheapest price. You could play it by take the easiest matchup and just play chalk with Sonny Gray. There's a lot of ways to look at that, but all 4 of those options are excellent. No issues with any choice. Guardians, a 3.80 implied total going up against Justin Verlander, who should be good for about 80 pitches. 7,700 in his return to action. Was pitching okay. 4.33 ERA, but a 4.68 xFIP under the covers, 18.2%. Strikeouts against 9.3% walks, but induced an 11.4% swinging strike rate, which remained interesting. Gave up a couple home runs, some premium contact along the way, but stuff plus measured out at 105. So maybe Justin Verlander is not completely dead. It's at least cheap enough on a very short pitching slate to find out against the Guardians lineup that's coming into town with some strikeouts, pitcher-friendly ballpark, pitcher-friendly lineup, Justin Verlander. It's just the 5-inning limitation, but on a day that is, kind of absent a lot of clear pitching ceiling outside of those top 4 guys, I think Verlander's on the board. I really do. I just think you look at it as I'm going to try and book around 12 to 14 DK points for my 7. I'm going to try and book around 25 FanDuel points for my 79. And I'll take that. On this kind of a day, I think that's worth riding with because of the uniquely cheap bats that it buys you against all 4 of the highly priced pitchers, or uniquely high priced bats rather, in combination with one another. So Verlander's in that mix with Ryan Yarbrough, with Trevor Rogers, right? Any concerns about Verlander maybe being decent, but only going 5 are eliminated when you cast him against the downside that comes with playing Ryan Yarbrough against a ton of hard hitting righties, the downside that comes with playing Trevor Rogers against anybody. So there's just a lot of back and forth in the 7s today. Wow. That Lakers purchase is for a valuation of $10 billion. One of the biggest commodities in sports, no doubt. But that is a big ticket. What do the Rays get sold for comparatively? 1.7. Yeah, Larry just nailed it. Yeah, see, the storm already passed, Larry. We're good. Yeah, I think that one just goes rocketing by the stadium and we're probably all right. I would play some Guardians against Justin Verlander. I don't think we're going to deal with an immaculate start here by any means. Stephen Kwan, Lane Thomas are interesting bats up top. Obviously, two very different performers so far this season. Thomas, pretty empty, 87 plate appearances, but we did get a lot of quality out of this player 2 years ago. It's just been kind of lost in the weeds, but it's gotten really, really cheap at $3,000, $2,400. If he's hitting second in this lineup, I definitely would be compelled to include him if I'm going to Guardians already. Not a reason to go to the Guardians. Stephen Kwan, hitting for average, getting on base, setting the table, 298, 363, 420, doing Stephen Kwan things, 126 WRC plus. Ideal player to correlate with Jose Ramirez at 59-37. He's hit 13 homers, stolen 20 bags. He's going to finish around 30, 40, somewhere around there, like typical. Just tremendous player year in, year out, despite only making mediocre contact as we measure premium contact. 8.3% barrels, 39.6 on the hard hits, 8.6 and 39.6 last year, 7% and 40.3%, but just mashes. Ridiculous. Defies the need for making premium contact. Carlos Santana, speaking of not making premium contact, 6.3% barrels, but 43.4% hard hits, 8 home runs, a 128 ISO, not exactly where we need him to be, has hit plenty of home runs over time, probably ends up the year around 18 to 20 in the end. 108 WRC plus either way. He's been very effective, not really striking out, drawing plenty of walks, setting the table and for guys behind him. Kyle Manzardo, positional conflict with Santana, but only 34-27. He's got 11 home runs on the board. Everything else about the slash line is substandard, but 11.3% barrels is interesting. A 216 ISO is interesting. You're just taking him for a little bit of home run upside against maybe the scuffling version of Verlander that was allowing an 11.7% barrel rate before his injury. Daniel Schneemann, Gabriel Arias, Bo Naylor, and Nolan Jones down lineup. Similar options. All guys who can capitalize on maybe a mistake and barrel a ball. All guys with medium home run totals for the plate appearances that we've seen. Arias with 5 and 250 is the lowest pace. 9 on the board for Bo Naylor over 192 is not nothing from a cheap catcher who really isn't ever that popular. 192 plate appearances, a 185, 298, 395 with a 26.6% strikeout rate, but a 14.1% walk rate. So he is technically a 3 true outcomes hitter. He just doesn't quite get on base enough to really justify the price of the title. But at price, if you're going Guardians, very playable from the left side for a cheap catcher spot. And I'm still a believer in Nolan Jones, just the raw talent. 2020 season and 400 some odd plate appearances for Colorado a couple years is another guy who, like Lane Thomas, been mostly lost since. 3 home runs, 4 stolen bases, but cheap. If you're going Guardians, cheap. Hits lefty. Giants bats probably in a little bit better of a situation, especially with the big acquisition. Rafi Devers made his debut. I think he had a hit yesterday. Did he drive in a run? I'm not sure. Overall for the season, 274, 401, 505, 15 home runs on the board. Saw him in person smoke a couple pitches against Logan Allen in earlier game this season in late April. No issues lefty-lefty with Rafi Devers, even if the numbers show a little bit this season, which memory serves, maybe they do a slight downturn, but wouldn't worry about it. Willie Adames has been scuffling, but from the right side against any mediocre lefty like Logan Allen, I'll take the upside that I know still exists in Willie. 10.7% barrels, 42.9% hard hits. Hopefully a little relief, maybe see some better pitches with Rafi behind him. I like him to have a little bit of a surge here. Jung-Hoo Lee at 45, 3,000. Solid player, 265, 328, 430 this season. Creating runs 13% better than average. Good enough from the leadoff spot. A little bit high priced at 45 on DK, 3,000 on FanDuel is okay. That 45 just feels a little bit relatively higher. I haven't crunched the numbers. Elliot Ramos at 43, though, pretty cheap. 33 on FanDuel. 11 home runs going up against the lefty with 11.8% barrels and 44.6% hard hits in his pocket. A 363 on base to go with all the power quality. He's having a tremendous year, 133 WRC plus, coming off of a good year last year. Wilmer Flores, 255, 323, 408 is about where you expect Wilmer. 11 home runs in 282 chances is a little ahead of the pace, and the 153 ISO, I think, reflects what the true power nature of the hitter is. But he's found some good results this season, undeniably. 108 WRC plus, but only a 292 XWOB. So we keep our eye on Wilmer as far as when the decline happens. We don't necessarily want to over-roster the player. Casey Schmidt at 32.25, mix and match quality across positions. Mike Yastrzemski, a lot of upside for premium contact. We would want to get him into some righty opportunities here. 5 home runs on the season, kind of underperforming his talent across 252 chances, but not dead in the water either with 8.5% barrels, 40% hard hits. Tyler Fitz hasn't really found great results this year. 9 steals, had a much better season last year. And then Logan Porter in the projected version of the lineup anyway at 2,000 on both sites. I guess I got to 10 AAA home runs last year. Excuse me, 2 AAA home runs, 6. Oh, no, it's just different organizations. They were all in AAA just across the Mets, Kansas City, and San Francisco last year. Totaled out to 10 home runs, 267, 370, 453, but was playing in AAA as a 28-year-old. This year so far, terrible slash line outside of a good on base at 350 in 161 AAA plate appearances, 2 home runs. Pretty easy to skip down the bottom of the Giants lineup. And then if you want to consider some Logan Allen at just 6,000, you do at least get a Giants lineup that has a 22.2% strikeout rate. Allen's only coming in with a 17% himself. It comes on 7.4% swinging, a bad CSW. He's just very, very cheap. And every now and then we can see some success. We can see the form that he was supposed to be. He came up with some pedigree and just hasn't really landed. The last time out against Cincinnati, let's say, 2 earned runs on 4 hits over 6 innings, faced 22 hitters, struck out 6. The 2 runs came on 2 solo homers, which can be the downside. 4 earned runs over 6 against Houston, only struck out 2, walked 2, gave up a home run. Meh. 3 2/3, 4 runs, 2 strikeouts, 4 walks. A 6-inning game back on May 13th against Milwaukee, though, struck out 6, walked 1, 3-hitter, no runs. It's a decent day. In a pitcher-friendly park against a, good lineup, but one with some strikeout in it. It wouldn't completely knock me out of my chair if Logan Allen had a 6-inning day in which he gave up, 2 or 3 runs instead of 8 to 10 runs that everybody's looking for with the Giants, and maybe found 5 or 6 strikeouts along the way. Wouldn't completely shock me. The odds are very much with the Giants. The results are going to almost certainly be very much with the Giants. But at the bargain bin price, from the bottom of the bargain bin, he's not completely off the board. FanDuel, I don't think you have to worry about it at 71, but it would at least be in the mix. If for some reason you're on FanDuel and you're at Ryan Yarbrough and you're like, damn, I still need to get cheaper, then Logan Allen technically projects a little bit better than him at 71. I prefer Yarbs. I think he's the better of the 2 pitchers. We did the order, I think, right? Astros, A's, seeing a lot of upside for offense in this one again on the Astros side at a 5.32 implied total. The A's, you'll note immediately, are just completely cut, not even in half. They're cut down by 2/3 in the home run model against Fromber. It's just what he does. 2.7 degree average launch, 1.67% home runs allowed this year, 0.4 last year with a 1.85, 4.2 with a 2.35 the year before that, negative 3.6 with a 1.33 the year before that, and the year before that one, it was negative 5 something. Dude can keep the ball on the ground, I promise. 10.5, 10.3, worth it. 26.7% Ks this year, 12.3% swinging. He's been tremendous for strikeouts this year. That's a little bit of an uptick over the last couple of seasons. Very nice to see. What I said before, actually, about his strikeout rate, I forgot that it was up a little bit this year. So he's much more directly in line with like Sonny Gray and so on. You don't even have that strikeout diminishment man for man. Chris Bubich, similar thing. There are Ks in this lineup, but there's a couple guys who are elite at avoiding the strikeout. If we're going down there, apologies with stupid multiple Max Muncy. 23.5% strikeout rate, even including the solid 6.2% out of Jacob Wilson so far. Wilson at 360, 399, 504, 327 xWOBA. I think he went 0 for last night. 5,000, 3,300 across sites. He's obviously tremendous. He's gotten expensive, though. You're paying for those base hits. He has hit 8 home runs. He can drive the ball a little bit, but it comes on, in specific situational conditions. Not necessarily an attribute, just something he can capitalize on in the right spot if he sees a fastball in an obvious count. Brent Rooker at 48.34, coming in cheaper than Jacob Wilson, is certainly a decision on DraftKings. 15 home runs on the board, a 351 on base, a 214 ISO. Brent Rooker's tremendous. Lawrence Butler at 46.34, 10 homers, 11 steals. Ideal counting stats for DFS purposes. Hits the ball very hard. Excellent player at a 116 WRC+. You're just running directly into the buzzsaw that is Framber Valdez most days. It's problematic. It takes away that home run upside, takes away some of the skill from some of these lefties. You do get the opportunity to drive the ball through the infield, but that's not really this team's game. So challenging. Expect, the one guy you would expect maybe to succeed with a few base hits is Jacob Wilson. This Max Muncy, 28-26 across sites. A little bit of results. I keep forgetting to change his name in time for the show in the stupid stats board with this middle initial thing. Kurtz at just 3,200, 7 home runs in 137 plate appearances, fully delivering on his major power upside. Kid's a monster. He's available in your dynasty league somehow. Pick him up. Probably more a season-long redraft thing. If he's on the waiver wire in your redraft league, pick him up. 28-27 for Luis Urias. Gio Urshela at the dead mid, not much of a hitter. Willie McIver, Denzel Clark haven't really shown us much at the plate so far. Clark is tremendous in the outfield. They should figure out a way for defensive points to count. Maybe something around like catch probability. Did you see PCA yesterday on a ball that had a 5% catch probability? He essentially caught it in left field, not even left center, like full on left field. Wild catch. If you go to A's bats, they're drawn down against Luis Severino, who isn't bad, but also isn't good. 4.47 ERA, a 4.41 xFIP, just a 15.6% strikeout rate, only allowing 1.53% home runs on 4.7% barrels. A little bit of hard hit in there, but and medium exit velo on a 12.4 degree average launch probably turns into more home runs in the long term. These Astros capable of changing that, especially in this ballpark, but maybe not the thing that burns him. What probably burns him is just, some sequencing against from a team that can easily sequence low strikeout bunch. So the positive attributes of the Astros kind of collide perfectly with the negative attributes of Luis Severino. And I think we get the Astros upside that we're looking for today. But you can at least point to a 106 mark by Stuff Plus for Severino, which is excellent. He's only found a 6.9% swinging and a 22.9% CSW somehow. But that at least maybe explains away some of the lack of barrels, some of the ability to avoid ultra premium contact. He's very, very loosely on the board at 67. I don't think you go there. I don't think you want to go there. Vegas is telling you not to. The Astros are telling you not to. And I think I'm telling you not to. Same thing at 75 on FanDuel. Astros bats, on the other hand, going to have in a big way. Jeremy Pena continuing his strong season. 9 homers, 15 steals, a 335 xWOBA. Just keep it up. He's a little expensive for my tastes for the player at 48, but I'll take it, especially with everybody else cheap. Isaac Paredes at 43-34 has 15 homers and excellent on base, great correlated scoring option who can get things done on his own, like the upside. Jose Altuve, who apparently he can't stick in the outfield on whatever site Don's playing on, but has outfield eligibility on both of these sites, second base as well. I continue to put him at second base, but he's at least just another outfielder. So he's inoffensive in the outfield and probably still an upside piece at second. 11 home runs now on the season, turning into a good Jose Altuve year, like I said yesterday or the day before. Johnny Diaz, 36-29, remains cheap for the talent, for the upside. The hard hits and the barrels that he's already put together this season. Low strikeout, low walk, so a lot of high-quality batted ball events. And the next 250 plate appearances are going to be better than what we've seen already. He's already turned the corner. He's showing power, 9 home runs on the board. Not completely shot. Cheap at catcher at 3,600 in the heart of the lineup. Christian Walker at 3,800, another player kind of scuffling his way through this season. Did want to say hit a home run yesterday when we talked about him, I think. 8.94 in today's model. I think he was over the magic number yesterday. 10 home runs on the season, a 155 ISO. Not nearly where we expected him to be, but I still believe, especially with the premium contact entirely intact. There's nothing wrong over here. Your problems are more right here. And then obviously in the results departments. Jake Myers, 4,027, a little high price for my taste on DraftKings, but workable. 27 on FanDuel is basically the same price. Stolen bases, on base, correlated scoring upside. Victor Caratini is interesting. If he's in the lineup, you get cheap premium bat on ball at the catcher spot where you have to play catchers, FanDuel is a lot less valuable because you just don't need to play the position. So I'd rather take an upside first baseman similarly priced. Cam Smith, Mauricio Dubon, mix and match quality guys down lineup. Either guy's capable of giving you enough. Cam Smith, a more reliable on base option at 336 so far this year, also creating runs 15% better than average, carrying a 330 xWOBA, 5 home runs on the board in 220 plate appearances, and most interestingly, 8% barrels, 47.1% hard hits now. I was kind of writing him off when he didn't really perform when they carried him out of camp. They've kind of stuck with, and they're starting to see some decent numbers turning the corner here. So not completely bad down the lineup. On a big day for potential Astros bats, I think you're going to be considering a Meyer, Scherer, Caratini, Cam Smith in any given lineup. And if you need the infield option for even cheaper, I think you're going to be considering some Mauricio Dubon. So probably best to spread out for Astros today and have those guys help your lineups get a little bit different. And there's really, given the quality in those bottom four, there's no single player in there is a star by any measure, but it's a better bottom four than a lot of teams are offering. So given just that to put into the blender to mix up your stacks up here, I don't think it's a day where necessarily we're saying you only want one of these four. I think if you get two of those four with three of these guys up here, you're all right. FanDuel, it's probably more still I want 1 + 3. But those are okay enough options to work with to help spread things out and just kind of martini shake your Astros shares. No blender. Shaken, not blended or stirred. Astros bats or Framber Valdez, either way. Framber, Astros bats, A's bats after that, and then Luis Severino. Yeah, and the quality of that contact has gone up, Monty, and I think what you're saying there is very much reflected in that on base pushing up a little bit. Those numbers got downright interesting down the bottom of the lineup in the last couple of weeks. I know you keep an eye on that team though, so yeah, good call out. Keep it coming. You were on that early in the season. You were also on Paredes early in the season with the quality and seeing pitches and everything that we like about him. So yeah, good calls across the board, Monty. Appreciate you, buddy. Yeah, as Larry mentions, not only do they have the same name, both Max Muncies have the same birthday. Somebody checked, and there are something like 5 Max Muncies or Maxwell Muncies in the entire country. And 2 of them have the exact same birthday and are Major League Baseball players at the same time, which is wild. And neither of these goddamn sites will put a middle initial in either one of their names. It drives me nuts every day. There's gotten to the point where there's too many things to change. Christian Encarnacion Strand's naming being too long is another daily thing now that I have to deal with. It's annoying. Last game up, Emmett Sheehan, target for Padres bats. They're checking in at just a 4.01 implied total. No Jackson Merrill on the concussion list. Makes this team super top heavy. It's really about the top 4. And then if you could squeeze something out of either Xander or Jake Cronenworth in the 5 and 6 spots. Top 4 are performing. Luis Lariz has been mediocre. Not giving you what you're expecting from him, but he's exactly at league average for run creation by WRC+. Maybe it's time to consider what I've been harping on about mixing this lineup up a little bit. Tatis is a superstar in the leadoff role. Honestly, gotten a little bit cheap on DraftKings at 5,100. 13 homers, 15 steals. Creating runs 36% better than average. Don't really see the issue. Manny Machado at 53.35. 11 home runs, 316, 378, 507. Monster season so far out of Manny. 12.4% barrels, 51.8% hard hits. And then Gavin Sheets remains just a $3,400 DraftKings option with first and outfield eligibility. So you have no positional conflict if you want to use them alongside eyes. You do with Trent Brooks a few spots later, and Brooks can hit the ball hard, has a home run on the board. Kind of interesting down lineup for the dead men. So it's nice to have that eligibility on Gavin Sheets. 10.8% barrels, 54% hard hits, 12 homers and 253 chances, a 211 ISO, a 351 xWOBA. It's been very real out of Gavin Sheets this year. Surprising me as much as it is anybody, but it's been very real. 127 WRC+. He's in my Padres stack for sure if I'm stacking pods. And honestly, More so on DraftKings, also on FanDuel to a degree at 3,000 with those positions, but very much at 34 on DraftKings. That is a guy to keep in mind for one-offs. 10 plus in the home run model for just 34 is not nothing. Bogey at 31.29, mix and match quality this season. Got to be honest about it. 76 WRC plus, just not where we want him. Still very low strikeout, drawing a ton of walks. I can see some positives, but he's dealing with shoulder issues and wrist issues and this, that, the other thing. It's just impacting the power output. I do think any given slate, perfectly fine to use. I prefer him at 29 at second base on FanDuel, though. Jake Cronenworth at 33.29, 237, 362, 388. At least getting on base, 120 WRC plus, so setting the table effectively enough. Followed by Trenton Brooks again at the dead min price on both sides. Not an uninteresting first baseman. 5.89 in the home run model. I think we looked him up yesterday or the day before. But come on. Home run output in the minors had 14 on the board this year. He's another guy. He's 29 playing in AAA. So ultimately probably a quad A guy. But we don't care about his long-term future on any given day. So we'll just take the power up. So you got it in those 3 plate appearances already. 14 homers in AAA. He's got one in the show, so 15 this season. Last year in 407 AAA plate appearances, had 10 home runs. Why is that not summarized? Weird. 22 homers across the minors in 2023. So duking it for a little bit of power. For the deadman price, is not crazy. And then Tyler Wade, Elias Diaz, mix and match quality at the absolute best. Tyler Wade's not even that good. Emmett. Oh, I didn't even realize I grabbed the... Come on. Sheehan made 3 starts in AAA. Pitched 9 1/3 to a 4.82 ERA, but a 3.21 xFIP this year. Did not pitch last year. In 2023, he worked 11 starts in the minors, 10 of them at AA. Had a 2.43 ERA with a 3.45 xFIP as a 23-year-old. Perfectly, age appropriate. Struck out 25.8%, but walked 10.5. No, sorry. Those were the major league numbers there. Skipping ahead. Struck out 41% in that minor league sample. That's the number I was looking for, but walked 11.6%. Again, that's a relatively small sample, but it was 63 innings. In 60 innings in the show that same year, right there, 4.92 ERA, 4.78 xFIP, but induced a 13.7% swinging strike rate, had a 25.8% strikeout rate overall. Just a 25.8% CSW explains the 10.5% walk rate. He's throwing not enough called strikes to go with that tremendous swinging strike rate. He also gave up too much premium contact and power, which is where I think we buy our downside and grab the Padres bats against. 4.44% home run rate on a lot of barrels. And again, first major league start in 2 years, probably going to get nailed here. 5.61 implied total on the Dodgers side of things going up against Stephen Kolek. As mentioned, though, you can see even Shohei Ohtani, 7.79 today in the home run model against Kolek. That is maybe artificially a little bit low, given it's a small sample still for Kolek. But this year, 6.7 degree average launch, just 3.5% barrels allowed so far, a 2.54% home run rate. Last year in 46 2/3 innings of relief, a sub 2% home run rate on 3.6 degree average launch, just 3.8% barrels. So that is a 90 some odd inning sample. It's essentially a half a season or a little bit less than a half a season. He's not a high strikeout pitcher. He walks a few too many this year at 9.1, but last year that was just 5.7. 3.50 ERA versus a 5.21 from last year, but this year a 4.34 xFIP versus a 3.46 xFIP last year. Some good, there's some bad. I don't think you go to Stephen Kolek with the lack of strikeouts that he's going to offer you and that the Dodgers are going to additionally reinforce that he's not going to find strikeouts here. 77, 78, not exactly super discounted either. But what maybe he has an impact on is the Dodgers home run hitting. You can see that Vegas at a 5.61 implied total has them as one of the top teams of the day because this team can sequence like crazy. They can capitalize on those walks like crazy and score their runs in different ways. This is also a bunch of hitters that can hit home runs against anybody. This matters less against this team, but it is the explanation for why these numbers are glaringly low for some of these hitters. He does have that skill set. Shohei Ohtani at 65.47. Tremendous run creator. Home runs are no. 179 WRC plus, getting on at a 393 clip. Creates fantasy points with his legs, with his arms, with his brain. He's ridiculous. Mookie at 4,900 is sub 5,000 now on DraftKings. 3,700 on FanDuel, multi-position eligible, 9 homers, 6 steals, a 113 WRC plus. Disappointing power output so far from Mookie. We'll see where it goes in the long term, but it's still a tremendous option to buy in the 2 spot for the Dodgers for that price. Shortstop, perfectly fine for him. 53.39 is maybe a couple $100 generous on both sides for Freddie Freeman in his tremendous season so far. Will Smith putting up equal numbers to Freeman on the season. Both guys, 163 and 166 WRC plus. Smith is expensive, but he's one of the highest quality catchers you can buy on any given slate. 5,200 on DraftKings, 3,300 is in play on FanDuel for shares for sure. You can play him and Freeman, no problem. First base, util. Teoscar Hernandez, 5,000, 3,700, has 13 home runs. Another masher in this lineup and a guy not to sleep on. He falls by the wayside sometimes for people when they're looking for their 5-mans. You got to get cheap somehow. So a lot of times he'll come up a little bit under owned. Same thing on FanDuel as a $3,700 option. He can fall off the board a little bit more than he ought to. This Max Muncy is the appealing Max Muncy. 242, 367, 416, 9 home runs and 270 plate appearances, 12.4% barrels, 50+% hard hits. Max Muncy still a monster. Will not hear arguments to the contrary. Andy Pye has 41-32. Great season so far out of him. 15 home runs on the board. Tremendous slash line. He's been excellent. Michael Conforto, a weak slash line, but still showing premium contact upside. Still drawing a lot of walks. Hasn't really resulted in even on base. Certainly not run creation. But a 341 xWOBA lingering there saying, I'm still playable under the covers. 2,800, 2,700. That's a decent enough bat to buy, even if we're taking the home runs out of the equation. It's not a bad lefty to consider. And then Tommy Edmonds, a mix and match infielder at the bottom of the lineup. Michael Knack and Larry C. duking it out in the chat. Larry had the over-under at 610. 544. We're outside. We're on the back end, man. We're walking down the 18th fairway, heading toward the green with 2-footer little tap in. All we got to do is, well, for one, click on the right spot on the spreadsheet. All we got to do is wrap this up. We've gotten through all the games. It is a monster slate up at the top of the pitching board. It is the complete opposite of yesterday, which was way more wide than it was tall. Today is a long, skinny mountain that just goes straight up. It's just a ladder, where yesterday we had like a nice gradual climb. You do have usable options through this range. You've also got a lot of same, a lot of really challenging spots, and no real easy, predictable go-to spot. Taj Bradley, certainly not that. Mizurowski, good as he probably is going to be. Good as he looks coming out of the gate. Difficult at those prices against an excellent Cubbies lineup. Erod, if you have faith in Eduardo Rodriguez, we have to have a conversation about your expectations. But certainly capable against that Toronto team and very cheap. One of the more realistic options from this mid-range. Tyon, not exactly priced the same as all those guys, but probably the best upside out of that group, but not a totally safe matchup against the okay Brewers lineup. These two guys would be assets to this slate. We would be into both of these spots. Probably more so this one. But we're almost certainly going to lose that game. Have we lost it already? Has it come off yet? It has not. Oh, we got a weird Brewers lineup, though. Frelick, Churio, Yelich, Contreras, Turang moving up to the 5. Collins, Durbin, Bowers, Ortiz. No Hoskins. It's problematic for their power upside. Bowers is good down lineup, though. Anyway, continuing on with the pitching summary. So then you get into like Trevor Rogers here at 74-79. That's very much why Justin Verlander in only 5 innings is on the board. More so on DK at 7. Would play at 79 on FanDuel. He's right in the mix with these guys, and he's limited to 5, where some of these guys are getting 6 and change. Logan Allen is difficult, but on a weak slate like this, that 6,000 could play. Eric Lauer is kind of where I draw the line. I'm not going to... 57 is uniquely cheap for sure, but that is too good a Diamondbacks lineup to really consider that, and he's going to be limited for innings as well. Yarbs is more on the board at 65, 73 on FanDuel. I've mentioned him a few times. He is one of the guys that can make some things work. Severino, difficult to justify. Kolek, difficult to justify outside of maybe limiting home runs. Burke against the Cards, where they're drawing a monster total. We just saw that work out the other way last night. I'm not going to Sean Burke. Blackburn, difficult against the Braves. Corbin, good as he's been, that's a low strikeout KC team. Sheehan, that strikeout stuff comes through. Just 3 1/3 in his most recent start down in AAA as he's getting warmed up. Struck out 7 against the Colorado affiliate, but gave up 4 earned runs, 2 home runs. It's a PCL team, though. Hasn't gone more than that 3 1/3. Hasn't faced more than those 17 hitters, so I wouldn't expect any kind of actual upside out of Sheehan. Kachanowicz against the Yankees. Maybe he repeats last night's ridiculous slate breaker from Hendricks, but I doubt it. I'm much more on the Yankees side. Speaking of, home run pick of the day was Mr. Cody Bellinger. It was originally Giancarlo Stanton, but we landed on Belly. The full home run board. I remind you, these individual picks are accessible in the projections. You get the individual player projections. You get the home run pick for every single player, and I update through the day as we get starting lineups. You get an individual pitcher projection for everybody on the slate, stack rankings, home run pick from every team, plus the overall home run pick of the day. I think we're 2 for 2 last 2 days. All for under $1 a day, plus you get access to the NBA projections, the NHL projections, the NFL projections when those are in season. Trying to give you as much bang for your buck as possible. So we are a little bit down board if we're looking. Belly is... Where is he? I could just search his name, but where's the fun in that? All right, where the fuck is he? What? Why would he not be here? That's why. 7.27 in the home run model. So not exactly at the top, but a respectable enough number. You've got a lot of upside among those guys, but a lot of obvious names. You've got a couple Blue Jays kind of hanging out here, which is interesting. Certainly a couple Yankees, but you don't get this one. You got that one up there looking pretty big. A lot of Diamondbacks power showing. Marte, Carroll, Eugenio Suarez, Josh Naylor hiding down there. It's a pretty good 4-man group right there. A lot of obvious names topping the board, though. Sneakiest one is probably right back to Addison Barger. Love Vinny right here at 9.60 with the power upside he's shown, and still very cheap. Anyway, Christian Encarnacion Strand, not Encarnacio. Fantasy Labs. Got to get that fixed. Pain in my ass. Arnold Palmers are quite nice, OMG. OMG Lols. Arnold Palmers are quite nice. Oh, Monty Pritchett's having an Arnold Palmer on the back nine. Or probably referring to what I said before. Yeah, I like it. Picked up a couple and stashed them at the turn, finishing them up. Maybe a little joint in our pocket walking down the final fairway. Like it. What's the cutoff for starting pitchers? So, as a very, there are multiple ways to answer that. One of which is right there. If you can get just one of those guys or two of those guys somehow, which is very challenging, obviously, on DraftKings. But there's a very good argument to be made that those are your 4 pitchers for this slate, and everybody else has big negatives and is challenging. Obviously, that's not how you play it. I would say realistically, like the all-inclusive group would probably cut at Justin Verlander. And he obviously has the innings cap to deal with. But I would probably say that's the realistic initial cut line. And you can include or exclude Logan Allen from that group. And I would say that it stretches, it jumps over Eric Lauer and grabs Yarbs and probably leaves all those other guys out. And that's kind of clear in the DraftKings pricing, where it's just like the bargain bin, the really dusty part of the bargain bin. But I do think Yarbs is at least worth the consideration, looking at how cheap he is, the fact that he's good for 6 innings now. There are strikeouts in that Angels lineup. There is a lot of downside in play too, though, for him. But yeah, it's either here. It's either here or it's, again, realistically there. So your SP2 conversation on DraftKings, your most realistic group is those dozen pitchers. Yeah, no issue with that, Larry. I think he is definitely probably your best upside guy. Certainly below at 7,000 or below. Or with apologies to Verlander, below 7,000. I think he's your best option in that tier. Not to say that he's necessarily good, but I think he's probably better than Logan Allen. I think he's certainly better than Eric Lauer, Sevy, Sean Burke, so on. You probably just don't get enough out of Emmett Sheehan, and it's a challenging strikeout matchup, so it takes away the one thing that you could point to that he might do well. Anyway, with that in mind, gang, that burned another 10 minutes of show. We took our time walking down the back nine. I missed the tap in. Had to circle back, take a little tester. But let me punch out. Let me get the site updated the last hour before lock here. A lot of lineups are confirmed. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody will win something. Share those results when you do, either in Discord or on Twitter at rotoscouts. Check out rotoscouts.com. Check out our guys over at acemind.io as well. They deserve a little love. Their sim and optimizer tools. Promo code rotoscouts all in caps. Pretty sure it still gets you under 20% off your first month. If it doesn't, let me know. I'll help the guys figure that out. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow for more, gang. See you.